We've got great respect for the Patriots and what they've accomplished. I mean, they have a deep history of winning, and that's not easy to do in this league. And so really our focus is on this week's game and not what's happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future.
Touchdown, Patriots!
This is a team without any real weapons, an offensive line that's underperformed, that's banged up at some key spots. So this is a Patriots team down their two top playmakers on defense, too.
They're a Sunday 1 o'clock team, guys. That's who they are. They're boring. They're poorly coached. Where's the hope?
Mike Danger. We're going to be talking a lot about the Patriots circling the drain. Are we taking them too lately going into Sunday?
Gene Battaglia. I don't recognize this team, this franchise whatsoever. I marvel at how things have changed here between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots.
How about we start with some baseball?
Don't do that.
Dylan Cousins trying to create a lane with a shot. Scores! The workhorse from Whitehorse in overtime.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Hey there. Good afternoon. Pull up a stool. Welcome on into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us and listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, or even our stream online at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia.
Good afternoon, buddy. How was your day off there with your daughter?
My day off. Let me tell you something, man. You couldn't have scripted it any better. It was near perfect. I mean, look, obviously, if you're going to play some golf, you want the conditions to be as favorable as possible. And yesterday could have been worse. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, at least the rain held off.
No rain, kind of dank, cloudy skies, but the rain held off. Greystone is remarkable. It's a great course, unbelievable views and sights. We were actually joking, me and a couple of the other dads, that for it being where we are, like middle of October, you would think that you would see a little bit more color in foliage, but everything's still kind of green. Like it's going to, we're going to get like one windy day where all the sweaty leaves just give up and fall to the ground because they haven't really, it doesn't look to my eye that they've really changed. Anyways, it was a great afternoon of golf for the Mercy girls golf team outing and banquet. And man, my daughter and I had a blast. Met some new friends, met her teammates, and I can't say enough great things about. And that's when you take the day. Like I took the day. It wasn't like I'm going to work a half day. I'm going to take the day, which means no alarm waking me up in the morning, which is kind of nice on a weekday. Means getting up at your own pace, going to the gym, not feeling rushed, getting your dad running, like all the things that sometimes you take for granted because you go when you're working and you're busy. It was nice. It was just a nice day through and through.
And I refrained from emailing you or reaching out at all. I recognized there was a day and
you could have emailed me. I wasn't going to answer it though. I can tell you that.
No. Need to give you a kind of just a little breather there. So before we set up, let me just kind of review what we talked about yesterday.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we had the story yesterday morning, Danger. I don't know if you saw this. Jordan Schultz reporting that, coming in for a visit and could be signed by the end of today. Leonard Fournette. We're all like, that's interesting. Visit canceled. And then it was nothing. And what was this all about? And then Matt Perino came on, as he does every Tuesday. I'm like, Matt, what's this? And he's like, know where you get your Bills news from. So Matt said there was nothing to this from the get-go, and kind of talking this through yesterday, see if you agree with me on this. And the Bills have yet to make any announcement. They don't have to until Saturday, but you really don't want to go in the New England with just two healthy running backs, and that's what they have now, as Damian Harris is in the concussion protocol. So do you sign somebody from the outside, or do you bring in, or do you elevate the guy who's been here all along, Ty Johnson, on the practice squad? We saw him at the end of training camp, and at least he knows the playbook. He would know his assignments. If it's 3rd and 5, he know where to pick up a blitz. I think that's the better course of action here.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up later on in I'll drink to that. But when you're talking about Sean McDermott, when you're talking about most NFL coaches, you really want guys that you trust. And when you're bringing in an outsider, that trust is something that has to be earned. So the biggest thing that coaches get high on, the one thing that they get high on more than anything from a player, is just knowing their assignment. Because we're fans, and a lot of times we'll focus on the stat line. What kind of production is he going to give me for my fantasy team, or the skill set that may walk through the door when the player is newly acquired. But it's actually the details in their game that matter the most. Like, go back to last season. Why didn't the Bills use Nyheim Hines more? Well, it's because McDermott didn't trust that he knew his assignments. He didn't know where he needed to be. He was learning the offense. Why is Latavius Murray running the ball late on Sunday night to milk clock? Because McDermott trusts that the oldest active running back in the league won't fumble the football in that situation. A player knowing their assignment is coach's catnip, and it's why we rarely see the Bills bringing in an outsider and using them in the way that we expect them to right away. And I think the same could be said for draft picks. See, also, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, that's where he's being judged most harshly. If you don't know where you need to be, where you're supposed to be, if you don't know our system, you're not going to be a part of the team.
Yeah, and also, too, like, I don't think anybody would argue that Ty Johnson, as a runner, is better than Leonard Fournette. I don't think anybody should argue that. However, we're just talking about the need for this week, okay? And the need for this week is everything you laid out there is like, can Leonard Fournette get up to speed on everything he would need to? Probably not. And I could imagine, it's not like George Schultz was fictional here, writing fiction. I would imagine that this was the scenario like, hey, we'd like to talk to you, but the pathway that Brandon Beane has shown here is you're a veteran, practice squad, and then you get elevated. Happened last year with Cole Beasley. Happened with John Brown.
Yeah, a lot of NFL teams are doing that.
Yeah, and if you're Leonard Fournette, like, oh, yeah, no, that's not what I need. It was almost like the agent was looking danger, like, wait a second, there's an injury in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Let me get my client. No.
I mean, on paper, it makes a lot of sense. Just when you just look at the player and, the skill set, sure, it makes a lot of sense. You got one bruiser for another bruiser, but, Fournette has a little bit more tread on the tires, I think, than Damian Harris does, and plus he would have to learn. And then that's before you even talk about how much money does he want. Because it's not like the Bills are just they're not just able to back up the Brinks truck for any old player. Like, they have to be, they have to. We're going to promote from within.
Yeah. Well, I mean, has Leonard Fournette been a free agent the whole summer? So it's not like he was released yesterday. So yeah, so we squelched that right away here. And again, they haven't made any official move. They don't have to. But we talked about that yesterday, and well, I don't know if you want to wait on this or not, but we had a very difficult week in Survive and Advance.
Ooh.
Well, not difficult from the outside. I'm as confident as ever.
Okay.
But when you lay it all out, every rule is violated. So we went over our choices.
All right. I want to get into this with you. Can we get into this with you?
Yeah.
All right. First, let's set the table here in the sports bar. Let you know what's coming up this afternoon. Here's what's on tap at Three Heads Brewing. Mexican dark lager. Enjoy this traditional Vienna-style lager made popular by some Mexican breweries. Enjoy yours at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue today, or join us on Friday. We will be there live for Friday Football Talk Live, 3 until 6 Friday afternoon at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the Arts. We always enjoy doing our live shows. Love when our regulars stop by to say hello. Hopefully we'll get the chance to see you face to face and do some chatting. We'll chop it up Friday afternoon at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue for Friday Football Talk Live. This is big. Later this afternoon, right around 4:25, we will be joined by the co-host of our new morning show here on the Fan Rochester, Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray stops by the sports bar.
She's one of us, Danger. Are we allowed to claim her?
Well, of course. We're very provincial. We claim everybody.
Okay, first of all, I learned from listening to the show, okay, she is a Bills fan. She has Bills takes. And you realize, wait, she's got some connections that I email her. I'm like, wait, her husband is from Rochester.
Yeah.
She's in town a lot. So our morning show co-host, along with Perloff, Maggie is married to a Rochesterian. She is one of us. So if we're going to say Rory McIlroy is one of us because he married the Rochester girl, I think we in the sports bar can claim Maggie. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a Rochester connection, we're claiming you. That's it. And she's one of us. So Rochester's own Maggie Gray
Gray
will be joining us at 4:25. The new host of Maggie and Perloff, your new morning show here on the Fan Rochester. PJ Glasser stops by later on this hour, right around 3:25. We'll get some winners for this weekend in college football and the NFL. Odyssey Sports betting insider PJ Glasser at 3:25. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all of the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
Which I don't know which way he's leaning here for Bills Patriots. It's a high number, 8.5. And yes, the Patriots are bad, but the Bills aren't exactly playing their best football heading to New England. So PJ think, okay, the Bills are just going to hit the switch here and prove to everybody, or does he think these problems will continue? We'll head up on some college games as well. So start to think about how you'd like to play this thing this week on your favorite app. PJ Glasser, your host of BetQL, send it in coming up shortly.
Now, we also will have time for your phone calls if you want to join us. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4FAN. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in the new location at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com, 866-4326 if you want to join us here in the sports bar.
There we go. So on Tuesdays, we give our survive in advance. Now, I think we've done this once, Danger, where there was some injury concern and we deferred. And I recognize the fact that deferring to Thursday or Friday doesn't help you because a lot of these pools, you got to get your pick in now. You cannot wait. Most pools don't, but some do. So what I wanted to do was give a winner yesterday and not hedge. And we went over all the selections here. And again, we couldn't use Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, Dallas, Detroit, Miami.
Okay.
We have all these divisional games. We have all these bad opponent against bad opponents. Some people might pick Chicago or Vegas just because they're playing each other, thinking, that's the only
coin flip,
no.
man. Yeah, no way.
No, the Browns -2 in Indy, and I want to ask PJ, but that looks fishy, does it not? Or I don't want any part of it, okay?
See, I think the Browns' defense is legit. I think it would be nice if they're, what did he get paid? $540 million quarterback. I think it would be nice if he decided he wanted to show up and play. That would be ideal for the Browns.
Yeah, well, guaranteed money. When I feel good, I feel good.
Yeah, you might want to show up. Your team actually has a legit defense, and you're farting around right now. You're in it in the North. It's open for everybody in the North.
Tempting to take Philadelphia in the Kelly Greens, by the way, on Sunday Night Football against Miami, but no, I'm not going to do it.
I can't do that.
No, I can't do that. It's two good teams against that's not in balance. So we whittled it down to 2 here, Danger. We have a road team. We have San Francisco -7 at Minnesota. Not knowing. And they're saying, we might have McCaffrey back. We might have Deebo Samuel. Blah, blah, some injury fog there. And we also have Seattle at home against a divisional opponent, which is a big no-no.
Oh, boy.
Seattle
we have
by
to break a
8.5
rule this week.
Yeah, we're going to have to break a rule. And the rule we broke is this. Yes, I'm familiar with primetime Kirk. Yes, I think the 49ers offense is certainly got some issues here. But again, those issues, there's too much unknowns. There's too much variables. And the home underdog on Monday Night Football, I just don't like it. I don't like a team going from Ohio back to California, out to Minnesota, and maybe without their 2 best weapons. I think Seattle is a much better team than Arizona. I think Arizona was playing over their heads a little bit. Arizona has a bottom 7 in defense in this league, so you don't have to worry about their defense mucking everything up. Seattle coming off a tough loss where they're back home in front of the 12s. I confidently pick Seattle. Mike Danger, are you on board?
I think I'm leaning San Francisco. I think I'm leaning Niners. And hear me out. I mean, you made a lot of great points, and I think, all right, if they're all great points, let me put weight on these points and see what holds more weight for me. I think the Vikings defense is trash, and Kyle Shanahan should be able to rip through that. I would imagine even without Christian McCaffrey that he'll scheme, ways to run the ball down their throat, that Brock Purdy won't be a liability. And even without Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle being out there, I think that's good enough for Purdy. If they didn't do well in Cleveland because Cleveland's defense is good. Plus, they were playing the elements. Your San Francisco team, you're playing in the elements for the first time this year. It's like, ugh, this is gross. This is terrible. Okay, the kicker lost you that game.
I'm going to give you another point. Kevin O'Connell, many years going up against Shanahan when he was at the Rams.
Yeah, he's an offensive guy.
Sure,
against that Niners defense.
That's not going to. You are.
I think that Niners defense is legit as well. Like that Niners defense, when you watch them, they get after the quarterback. Kirk Cousins is a bit of a statue. You mentioned primetime Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk Cousins in primetime, usually
11 and 18.
Yeah, not somebody you normally would back in primetime. I just don't think the Niners have two bad games in a row in them. And it wasn't a good game in Cleveland, but they almost won that game. They should have won that game. It's a hard stadium to kick in, and their rookie kicker couldn't figure it out. So I think I'm leaning Niners. And why I wouldn't go Seattle, for me, I don't trust Geno Smith. I just don't know that I trust Geno Smith. I know that Arizona's defense isn't great, but I have a feeling that they can confuse Geno Smith easier than the Vikings defense can confuse Brock Purdy.
Arizona's defense averaging 27 points a game. Seattle's allowing 22 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's... Pull this up.
There's nothing about the Cardinals' offense that makes me scary, and I think there's a couple of players on Seattle's defense that should be able to hold them in check. I mean, it would make me happy if we're both right, but I just think I feel a little bit more strongly about the Niners on the road than I do against with the Seahawks in a divisional opponent.
I am putting more weight into the home team coming back home. Arizona's defense, for the record, is 26. Seattle's no great shakes either. That's against they're 24th right now.
Bad defenses are bad plays, Gene. Defenses. That's one of the rules, Gene. Bad defenses are bad plays. Are you willing to say that Seattle's defense is a bad defense? Well, at 24th. We're the Niners defense. Third.
It goes Cleveland, Baltimore, San Francisco.
Yeah.
I am standing by my pick. Are we going in different directions?
We might go in different directions this week.
No, you coward. Like, you don't get to buy your time. I, planted my flag yesterday.
I'm on the Niners.
Oh, yes.
I'm on the Niners.
Yes, and then, I see this all setting up. I see Monday. I see me coming in like the Vince McMahon meme, just running
you got
in.
Your swagger.
Got my swagger, and then, you got to sweat it out Monday night. Oh.
Yeah, I'll sweat. It gives me a reason to watch on Monday night. I'll watch with great enthusiasm and excitement, and we'll watch. And we can both be right. There's nothing wrong with it. We can both be right. The good news for you is that if you're right, you still have San Francisco available to you down the road.
Okay, full stop. In no way in my logic here
are you thinking I'm going to save.
Yeah,
you're not saving. Savers are losers. We know the rules. We know the rules.
Savers are losers.
We know the rules. I'm not saving anything. I just think that that's the better pick this week out of the two. That's my opinion. You got Seattle. I'll go Niners. I'm not hedging. Niners over the Vikings will be my week 7 survive and advance pick. Geno's going with the home team in a divisional game. Seattle over the Cardinals. We're picking on a couple of bad teams. I mean, Minnesota's not a very good team. Hell, they almost lost to the Bears. I mean, that game was a lot closer than it should be. The Bears are terrible. All right, PJ Glasser, the host of BetQL's Send It In, will be stopping by the sports bar here in a couple few. We'll get his takes on this Saturday's action in college football. We got some good games this weekend. Again, Ohio State, Penn State, come on. If you're Penn State,
this is it, right? This is your time. What?
This is the game every year you circle on your calendar, because if you're a Penn State fan, you want so badly for your program to be viewed as elite. You want them to be mentioned in the same breath as Michigan and Ohio State. And they never are in the Big Ten because they can never get by Michigan and Ohio State. Beat Ohio State, and then let's see what happens. I think Penn State fan will be insufferable the rest of the college football season if they beat Ohio State on Saturday.
They're going to be insufferable either way, dude, coming up. Right? If they lose this game. So, but that's really kind of the highlight here of the whole week. USC, Utah. I mean, we're still paying attention to Pac-12 football, too. So that would be one I want to get PJ's thoughts on.
Yeah, and USC coming off that loss in Notre Dame, Utah might have their number. In fact, if I had to guess, my guess is PJ is going to tell us that he's backing the Utes. We'll get his take on that. PJ Glasser, the host of BetQL's Send It In, stops by the sports bar next with his best bets for this weekend's football action. Maybe we'll ask him about tonight's ALCS as well. PJ Glasser in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
The Breeders' Cup is November 5th, and Batavia Downs has a package deal for you. $199 gets you a hotel room, 2 entries in their Breeders' Cup party with a delicious buffet, free programs, and $25 in free play for each person. So come to Batavia Downs Gaming and watch the Breeders' Cup and enjoy live harness racing after. Visit their hotel deals page online at BataviaDownsGaming.com and book your Breeders' Cup package today.
Batavia Downs! More, lots more!
The Ide family of dealerships is locally owned, and when you do business with us, you're also supporting the hundreds of local organizations that we're part of. So when you're in the market, visit us at Ide Honda or Ide Volkswagen. We're here, we're local, and we'd love to earn your business.
Hurt in a car? Call William Mattar. Let us fight to maximize your recovery. Hurt in a car? Call William Mattar, 585-444-4444, or visit us at williammattar.com, West Main Street, Rochester.
I really don't like my furniture.
I hate that for you.
I'm gonna go get a new sectional and dining room set.
Where are you gonna go?
Have you heard about that store with the lowest prices on signature design sofas, bedroom sets, and dining room furniture?
You mean the one with that awesome guy that says Johnny Boxspring Furniture and Mattress?
You sound just like him.
I wanna be him.
I love that for you.
Johnny Boxspring Furniture and Mattress, 2105 Buffalo Road, Westmar Plaza Gates.
Johnny Boxspring Furniture and Mattress.
You sound just like the girl that answers the phone.
Oh, gotta go.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language.
Pain management, but it's feeling pretty good.
Not practicing today, Ed Oliver, Quentin Morris, and Damian Harris. Dalton Kincaid, though, has clear concussion protocol. Rochester Americans on the road tonight. First to 2 at Laval. They also play there on Friday. Don Stevens will have your call beginning at 7 o'clock here in the Sports Leader. It's Game 3 of the ALCS tonight. The Houston Astros needing a win. They're down 2-0 against Texas. It'll be Christian Javier against Max Scherzer. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com today. Get 2-for-1 passes, a flash sale to Stokey Farms. Gene Battaglin, the Sports Leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
All right, let's get some winners. Joined now by the host of Send It In and Odyssey Sports Betting Insider PJ Glasser. Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. And PJ, before we talk college football, before we talk NFL, we got Major League Baseball tonight, the ALCS Game 3 in Texas, and I was just going back and thinking, Gene's a big Mets fan, and there's one guy who I know most Mets fans, and let's face it, baseball fans just absolutely loved. He played until a very advanced age and had one of the most recognizable nicknames in all of sports. I'm talking about the Big Sexy, but I'm trying to remember what his actual name was. Do you have that off the top of your head, PJ?
I do, Dave. This is a good one. Bartolo Colon. When I heard Mets, I thought you were going with the first baseman, Alonso, but I love Bartolo.
well, we gave you Alonso last week with Kiko Alonso. We didn't want to stump you again.
I'm going to stump you on this one. So I thought Danger was going to, because you talked to a Met fan. Bear fan, 85. Met fan, 86.
Oh, yeah.
And the closer, when he throws his glove up into the air, he was a lefty. His name was Jesse...
Jesse. Did it start with an O?
Yes,
Gene?
Jesse Orozco.
Jesse Orozco. I knew it started with an O. I couldn't remember. That's another good one, too. Jesse Orozco.
Yeah, and we are really dating ourselves. I mean, you're pulling guys from like the mid-'80s. And PJ, when were you born? What year were you born? Just make us feel evil.
96.
Jesus,
96.
There he is.
I know.
He's the best.
Yeah.
PJ, all right. Can we start quickly with tonight's ALCS? Are you staying away from this? I mean, the Rangers are in control. Is there something in tonight's game that you've got circled that you like that we could play?
They are in control, guys. It's tough to bet against Texas, but I think if there's a spot to do it, this is it. I like the Astros tonight. 7 straight ALCSs for Houston. If there's any team, really in sports, like at this point, in a series, if you need a game, a must-win, it's got to be the Astros. They know they need to win tonight. I really expect it to be an awesome baseball game, like truly baseball at its highest level, right? The Astros know it's a must-win. The Rangers have won 7 straight here in the postseason. I'm going to take the Astros plus money. I think they get the job done tonight.
Yeah, it's certainly. We'll do your thoughts on the Philadelphia-Arizona series. Tomorrow. Is there any value in playing the Phillies at this point, or maybe Phillies futures for the World Series, PJ?
Yeah, maybe for the World Series. Guys, what's really interesting is the Phillies, Astros, and Rangers all finished the regular season with the same record. So depending on who meets up in the World Series, it's going to come down to tiebreakers of who gets home field, which obviously is so important for the Phillies because they just don't lose at home. So it's kind of tough to bet futures not knowing who's going to have the home field advantage, but yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the D-backs and the Phillies, guys. I don't know how many games the series is going to go. Philadelphia is going to win. I think it's probably a gentleman's sweep. I think it goes 5 games, but I would not bet against Philadelphia right now. The way that they're playing, especially at home, they're too tough to beat out in Philadelphia.
All right, we got a lot of Penn State fans listening to us this afternoon. We got a lot of Ohio State fans listening to us this afternoon. We know how big this matchup is in the Big Ten on Saturday. Penn State is always that program that wants to be considered elite but can never get past Ohio State and Michigan. PJ, which way are you leaning for this weekend's action at the Horseshoe?
Guys, game of the week, and this is the time for Penn State. This is the time. I like them plus 4.5. I like them money line. I think they go into the shoe and win the game. I'll tell you why. They've had 3 weeks to prep for this game. They had a bye week. They played UMass, and now they get Ohio State. They've had 3 weeks to look at their film. Meanwhile, the Buckeyes, they had to play an undefeated Maryland team. They had to go to West Lafayette and play Purdue last week, a place where they've struggled throughout the years. Ohio State really hasn't had the luxury of kind of peeking ahead, where Penn State, that's been their mindset. They knew coming into the season their non-conference was going to be favorable. Really, their Big Ten schedule was going to be favorable as well, outside of Ohio State and Michigan. Franklin's 1-8 against Ohio State, as people know. He's never won in Columbus. This is the time. He's got the quarterback. He's got the running backs. He's got the defense. I think they go in there and get a win. I also like the under, too, guys. Both defenses are really good. I think this is going to be a low-scoring kind of game we saw against Notre Dame when Ohio State played them, maybe like a 2017, 21-17 type game. I like the under, but I think Penn State gets the job done.
Ooh, PJ, that is bold. We are going to remember that, and we're going to take your advice on that. There's other action here, too, we want to ask you about. Let's go over to the SEC. Another team coming off a bye, that being Ole Miss, the ranked 13th. They're going to Auburn. Ole Miss on the road giving 7. Do you like them to win the game? Do you like them to cover here? How do you view this matchup, PJ?
Guys, maybe it's something in the air, but I'm getting frisky with these underdogs this week. I'm going Auburn plus 7 and outright plus 200. Jordan Hare is a tough place to play, not only in the SEC, but all of college football. Kirby Smart talked about it when Georgia played there about a month ago. What a tough environment that is to go into. Ole Miss is having a nice season. Lane Kiffin was searching for that big win in SEC play. He got it against LSU. Now he's looking for his first big win on the road. Ole Miss is the more talented team, but this is one of those spots where Auburn at home behind their defense can muck it up, keep it ugly. I think they win this game outright, guys. I like the Auburn Tigers this weekend.
A couple of weeks ago, we were talking to you about Syracuse Army. We see Army now against another SEC opponent here in LSU. You have a take on Army, I'm sure, PJ.
I do, guys. This is just one of those perfect spots where when Army goes up against a team that's all offense and no defense, this is where you back the military academy teams. Now, Auburn isn't, or Army, I should say, they run more shotgun than you might expect. They actually don't run it as much as I would like, but they know their only chance in this game is to possess the ball. And I just talk about Penn State having 3 weeks of prep against Ohio State. LSU's got the same opportunity here against Bama. Army this week, bye week, then you play the Crimson Tide with a chance of winning the SEC West and getting back to Atlanta for the SEC title game. So I don't think LSU is going to be watching as much film on Army as they probably should. They're obviously going to have way better athletes, much more talent out on the field. But that triple option is the great equalizer. I think they can hang around and keep it close. I like Army plus the big number.
PJ, we got to enjoy Pac-12 football while we'll still have it. And I'm going to Danger, I'm hopping inside the mind of PJ, all right? All right, so we have USC and we have Utah. And USC, they look bad Saturday night. Poof, 48 points their defense gave up. But it was also the other side. Caleb Williams, there goes his Heisman hopes. 3 interceptions against the Irish. And here comes Utah, and they're 5-1, and they're looking to PJ. If I have listened to you here over the last weeks, you like value. Do you like USC coming off a loss like that?
I do, Gene. I do. You really listen to me well. You know where I'm at. We like the Trojans this week, fellas. Lay the 7. Utah's defense is elite, one of the best defenses in the country. Their offense without Cam Rising, horrendous. They are worse yards per play than Iowa is. Whenever you're worse at something than Iowa when it comes to offense, never a good thing, guys. USC, their defense isn't very good. But I think they're going to get into the high 20s, low 30s into this game, being at home, being at the Coliseum. This is a Utah team they lost to twice last year. They got revenge on their minds, especially coming off the loss to Notre Dame. I just don't see Utah scoring enough points to hang with USC. I like the Trojans -7.
All right, let's shift gears to Sunday's action in the NFL and the game that we've been spending the most of our time talking about this week, PJ. You know, it's the Bills and the Pats. Another big number for the Bills, who didn't look great on Sunday night. New England, just a lost cause. Which way are you leaning here, PJ?
Guys, I like the Bills. I'd lay the big number. I think this is a great teaser opportunity as well. You get them under the 3, maybe tease them down to 2.5. As you guys know, Buffalo, the last 6 matchups against the Pats, they've won 5 of them, and all 5 of those wins have been by double digits. And even though the Bills have been the team to beat in the division, they know what this game means to their fan base, what it means to their franchise. New England was the team that haunted them for so many years, and they see the Patriots as one of the worst teams in football, and if they have the chance to run it up, they're going to do it, especially coming off a sluggish performance like that. So I like the Bills. Guys, even the Patriots, I mean, just watching them last week, like, for them to score, it takes them 8 minutes, 9 minutes. Like, they have these methodical drives against Buffalo's defense. Like, Mac Jones is going to make a mistake. You're not going to be able to do that. I don't think they're going to have enough offensive fire. I know they don't have enough offensive firepower to hang with Buffalo if they're right. I like the Bills this week.
The Buccaneers, boy, they look good on the field. I'm not talking about their play. I mean, I love those uniforms last week and how they didn't back that up against Detroit. They're back home this week against Atlanta, and it's Atlanta getting 2.5. I don't know who's going to win that division, PJ, but your thoughts on Tampa hosting Atlanta this week?
Gene, I don't know who's going to win that division either. I keep thinking the Saints are the best team, and then every time you watch him play and you watch Derek Carr play, you're like, I don't know. Yeah. But then you watch the rest of the division play, and you're like, I don't know either. It's a weird game. My thinking is Desmond Ridder just lost his first home game as a starter in college or the NFL. Wouldn't it be fitting if he goes on the road this week and wins his first career NFL road game? I think it's a nice spot for Atlanta to bounce back and get a win. And guys, you know, a lot of the times in the betting space, you bet numbers and not teams, right? There were so many spreads last week that were flip-flopping between 2.5 and 3. Minnesota and Chicago. You had Cincinnati and the Seahawks. Those favorites, they all won. The one game that didn't touch 3 was Commanders-Falcons last week, and we saw the Commanders win outright. I'm watching a number of these spreads this week again that are kind of bouncing around a little bit. Baltimore and the Lions are bouncing around. You have the Browns and the Colts. That's going between 2.5 and 3. Bucks and Falcons has remained 2.5. I think that's telling us a lot. I like Atlanta this week.
All right, what about in the West, AFC West? We got to see the Chargers on Monday night fall to the Cowboys. The Chiefs have absolutely dominated their division opponents. Are you taking the Chiefs here when they face off against LA?
I am not. I like the Chargers, guys, +5.5. 19 of the last 24 Charger games have been decided by 7 points or fewer. It's just, I mean, all they do is play one-score games. And like you said, Danger, the Chiefs dominate this division ever since the Mahomes era. He's actually never lost a road game in the AFC West, but he has lost a couple times at Arrowhead to AFC West teams. Chargers always play him tough. They always do. These are always 3-4 point games. I think we're getting that again. You know, I was interested to see, before the Chargers played Dallas on Monday night, this line was at 5.5. Chargers lose by 3, it's still at 5.5. So I think the odds makers are expecting the Chargers to bounce back. I expect the same thing as well. I think there's even a chance they might win this game outright, too. But I really like them +5.5.
Yeah, you were mentioning lines that are bouncing around, and I think Miami, Philadelphia falls into that category. I'm looking at BetQL right now, and they have Miami getting 2 at Philadelphia. PJ, like, this is a tough one to call. I mean, you know, like, the square me would be like, I don't know here. So guide us through here. How do you see this matchup?
Guys, I really like the Eagles. I really do. I think people are going to be tempted to like Miami just because, you know, the Eagles were 5-0, but they really hadn't looked like the Eagles team we saw for much of last year. You could kind of see, like, a game against the Jets coming. You know, they look so dominant at times, and then they go through these lulls where they're just asking for teams to beat them, even as poorly as they played last week. If Jalen Hurts doesn't throw that interception towards the end, they probably win that game. This line's probably -3 instead of 2.5. The reason I like it, though, the Bills showed us the blueprint of how to beat the Dolphins, and that's rush them with 4, get to Tua, and really make them uncomfortable. That's the strength of the Eagles team. Jalen Carter's supposed to be back for Sunday night. They're going to get after Tua. Darius Slay might be back in the secondary as well. I think it's a good bounce-back spot for Philadelphia. Dolphins don't have a very good defense. I think the Eagles control the line of scrimmage, run the ball, keep the offense on the sideline, and then when they do, I think they get after them with 4. So I think it's a great matchup for Philly. I think it's a great bounce-back spot for Philly, and I think it's a great number for Philadelphia. Anything under the 3, really like the Eagles.
All right, PJ, we here in the Sports Bar are still alive in our Survivor pool. We took Miami last week. Now we get to bye weeks. We get to a lot of matchups that are just... So, I'm not going to lead you one way or another. All I'll tell you is we can't use Buffalo and New England. We cannot use Kansas City.
Okay.
Give us what will be your pick this week.
Guys, it is so hard. It is so hard this week. I'm still alive, too. My thinking is everybody's going to be on Seattle this week. Everybody's going to be on the Seahawks. And when we get this point, and everybody's going to load up on one team, it worries me. So even though the Seahawks seem like the choice, I think this is the week where we get a little bit courageous and we take maybe one of those smaller spreads. I like Green Bay this week against Denver. That's going to be my play in Survivor. I know that line makes no sense. It's a pick 'em, but the Packers are coming off a bye. All those skill position players, the Aaron Jones, the Christian Watson, allow them to get healthy. And look, Denver's been laying weird numbers at home all year. They were favored against the Jets, 3.5 against the Commanders, 3.5 against the Raiders. Not only did they not cover any of those games, they didn't win any of those games. I just don't like the vibe around Denver right now. There's all these reports that Sean Payton wants to trade away everybody, and it's just not a team that I want to get behind. So it's a big-time risk. I wouldn't blame you if you want to take Seattle and just, hope that's the reasonable play. But if you want to get a little risky with me, I'm rolling with the Packers this week.
All right, can we get you to explain why San Francisco wasn't brought up, or did you already take San Francisco earlier this year?
Yeah, so I already took San Francisco. I think that's a good option as well. I just, Minnesota guys, all they do is play one-score games. That's all they do. And obviously San Francisco's the Monday night game, and I worry that if you take them and McCaffrey doesn't play and Debo doesn't play, I know that Browns defense is elite, but we saw how Brock Purdy looked without those guys, and it wasn't pretty, especially if Trent Williams isn't out there. I just worry that it's a Monday night game, and we're not going to know the injury report until kickoff. So I'm staying away from the Niners. I'm staying away from the Seahawks. We're going to roll the dice with the Packers.
Wow. All right, we're going to reconvene on Saturday so now I'll reveal it here. I'm taking Seattle. Danger's taking San Francisco. So
okay,
yeah.
Are you guys nervous? Are you guys nervous? Well, are you worried about those picks because they're going to be popular?
You're convincing me to go completely different and take Green Bay. Your rationale and your logic behind Green Bay, just aside from the fact that they're the road team, they should go into Mile High and beat Denver. I just wish I had more faith in Jordan Love.
I know, me too. And I'm worried because everything I know about betting and the lines is telling me to take Denver. I can't do it with that team. I can't do it. So,
and my rationale for San Francisco too, PJ, sorry to cut you off, is I just think good defense, right? Out of all of the teams we're talking about here, good defense. And yeah, Minnesota at home might be a little scary. It might be a one-score game, but it is primetime Kirk Cousins against that defense. I don't really care if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play. I think they'll find a way. They're not going to have 2 bad games in a row in San Francisco.
That's fair. Gene, why do you like Seattle? Is your logic just that's the best bet, safest bet on the board?
Well, I look at I like going against bad defense. Not like Seattle has a great defense, but that's point number 1, that Arizona bottom 7 defense. I think Arizona's played a little over their head. And I watched the entire Seattle-Cincinnati game, and look, Geno Smith was going into a hostile environment. They nearly came out. I just like this spot for Seattle coming back home with the 12s. Yes, it's a divisional game. That's actually my biggest concern here, but it's a divisional game with a head coach that doesn't know anything, or it's a new staff, so really it's a divisional game, but is it really a divisional game when Arizona's playing? So I'm comfortable taking Seattle here in this spot, PJ.
It's a tough week, guys. It really is a tough week. I mean, I'm looking at the board, and there's so many gross games. Like Raiders-Bears is going to be gross.
Yeah.
Commanders-Giants is going to be – it's a tough week. So good luck to you guys. Hopefully we all go 3-0, and we're back next week, and we're talking about our Survivor pools once more.
Yeah, we'll go 3-0.
3-0.
PJ, we'll be listening for you on Send It In with BetQL. Thanks for humoring us. Thanks for the winners. And you're right, we'll talk again next week. Same time, we'll compare notes.
You guys are the best. Talk to you next week.
There he is, the host of Send It In, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider PJ Glasser, Insider Calls, presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
Going back to the beginning of that, kind of makes me feel old, like Jesse Orozco.
Oh, he didn't know who you were talking about.
No idea.
No idea, man.
idea.
I mean, like, you and I remember that series. We remember Dr. K. We remember all the characters, Strawberry. We remember all the characters from that Mets team. Dude was born in, what did he say, 96? That's 10 years after he was even born. So for me, that would be like, who was in 65? Johnny Unitas? Like, I don't remember anybody from the NFL.
For me, that would be like Bill Mazeroski's home run against the New York Yankees.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about?
Right. So
yeah, I get it. It's like, when you put in those terms, boy, that's a good one, though. Bartolo.
Oh, yeah. Big Sexy. Had to throw that one at him today. That's an all-timer. Maggie Gray, the host of Maggie and Perloff, the co-host of Maggie and Perloff, your new morning show here on the Fan Rochester, joins us coming up here at 4:25. We've got some takes on tap next with I'll Drink to That.
You were bringing up this point, like, why do they take calls in the Buffalo Bills post-game show? Like, half of them are in the bag.
Yeah, my point was, you're smarter than what you're sharing with us when you call into the sports bar. Like, we believe in you. We know you watch these games and you know what you're talking about. Some of you will call in and just give us outlandish takes, and it's like, come on, be better than that. You're doing it because you want us to get upset. It's almost like you're baiting us.
Yeah.
Is John from Rochester, has he been trolling the Rochester sports talk stations his entire life? I feel like it's a long-term troll job.
Yeah, and we're like the first show that says, no, John, no.
Stop, get out of here.
Stop, get out of here. But this is a rant against all of that. I've got audio that maybe it's too inside baseball here, so to speak, but it's a good point for you. If you hate your coordinator and you want him fired, or you hate your head coach and want him fired, just chill out for a second.
Yeah.
Also, this story today about Caleb Williams wanting ownership of an NFL team. There isn't an owner that would actually do that.
I don't know that precedent will ever be set.
Well, we'll get into that.
One of our favorites in the sports bar is switching gears for the upcoming season. We'll explain where you might be able to see one of our favorites during the college basketball season. That's coming up as well with I'll Drink to That here in the sports bar. Some takes on tap.
Define favorite.
He's a favorite in the sports bar. He's kind of like, he's this guy that's just like a favorite. If you don't say nice things about me, I'll have you whacked. I'll have you taken out. That's it. And he's got his finger jammed halfway up his nose. That's coming up next in the sports bar on the Fan Rochester. Get ready to start the NFL week off right tomorrow night. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Jags and Saints. You'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, and don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country.
The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Bills back at work today getting ready for the Patriots, who are their 8.5-point favorites this week. Head coach Sean McDermott on how to get the offense jump-started.
I think it's just about, hey, we're going into week 7 now. We should know some of these guys and what they do best and the roles that they're going to play and the positions they're going to occupy for us. And it's putting them in those positions so that we can be the best offense we can become.
Josh Allen says he's fine. Not practicing today, though. Ed Oliver, Quentin Morris, and Damian Harris. Dalton Kincaid, though, has cleared concussion protocol. A trade in the NFL today. The Chiefs bringing back wide receiver Mecole Hardman. The Jets, in return, getting a pick swap. Rochester Americans hockey here tonight on The Fan. They're in Laval. Don Stevens will have your call beginning at 7. Game 3 of the ALCS. Texas up 2-0 on Houston. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We've got great respect for the Patriots and what they've accomplished. I mean, they have a deep history of winning, and that's not easy to do in this league. And so really our focus is on this week's game and not what's happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future.
Touchdown, Patriots!
This is a team without any real weapons, an offensive line that's underperformed, that's banged up, at some key spots. So this is a Patriots team down their 2 top playmakers on defense, too.
They're a Sunday 1 o'clock team, guys. That's who they are. They're boring. They're poorly coached. Where's the hope?
Mike Danger.
We're going to be talking a lot about the Patriots circling the drain. Are we taking them too lately going into Sunday?
Gene Battaglia.
I don't recognize this team, this franchise whatsoever. I marvel at how things have changed here between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots.
How about we start with some baseball?
Don't do that. Dylan Cousins trying to create a lane with a shot. Scores! The workhorse from Whitehorse in overtime.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Danger and Battaglia back with you in the Sports Bar. Appreciate you checking us out. The Fan Rochester inside the free to download Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. And Gino, tell me yesterday while I was gone that you spent at least a little bit of time talking about that handshake at the end of the Bills-Giants game.
Well, we definitely
How
did, yeah.
very clear it is that Sean McDermott and Brian Daboll. Oh, friction? Yeah, I think there's a little bit of friction between those two.
We talked about it with Matt Perino because, well, that was like the top story on Barstool yesterday. And who are they quoting? They're quoting Matt Perino, going way back there. I'm like, okay. There's no doubt. And what Matt brought us the take is this dates. What was the last game for Brian Daboll? Does everybody remember? It was 13 seconds. So since 13 seconds, these two, you listen to the audio this past week, and normally you'll get the, hey, I got a lot of respect for Sean, or hey, I got a lot of respect for Brian. Neither of those men mentioned the other guy. So, yeah, they don't like each other. There was something. There was friction, and that handshake at the end, as captured by Thad Brown and some others, that was telling to me, and I cannot wait to read the book. You only get a book if you win a championship.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping our buddy Perino writes at some point. And it's, 5-6 years after the championship where you get the kind of good stories there. Maybe Tyler Dunn will write the book here, but I want to know how did that relationship end between McDermott and Daboll?
I just think they're two completely different guys, right? Like, could they just not get along? They were working together, but they're just two completely different guys, with one being more reserved, more presidential, one guy who's never going to give anybody any bulletin board material, never throw anybody under the bus, just do it the way he's done it, Sean McDermott. And the other guy, and Brian Daboll, who will undress his player as he's walking out to the locker room for halftime.
Fans love that. I'm sure, some Giant fans. Yeah, you know what? Tyrod should know that.
Different styles.
Yeah, that's a completely different style, right? And you have to remember how did Daboll come to Buffalo? He wasn't on the original staff. That was Rick Dennison.
Yeah, Rico.
And he was not an offensive coordinator. It was basically because Mike McCoy, they brought in everybody like, I'm not going to Buffalo. I'm working for this guy. That's how low the Buffalo Bills were. And the Bills somehow stumbled into the playoffs the first year and realized, no, we need a different offensive coordinator. And, okay, here's the guy with Buffalo roots who wants this job, and he was under Nick Saban. So, yeah, this was not McDermott guy to begin with, Brian Daboll.
Yeah. Well, you're also, I think at that point of his coaching career, you had to, that was a key, right? Like, oh, he wants to be here. They're still looking for guys who want to be here. It's a lot easier now because you're winning, but then you had to like find things like, well, he's got roots here. He played high school at St. Francis, so I guess, he'll come back, right?
Oh, I don't know if you knew this or not. Brian Daboll, can we claim him? He went to the U of R. Actually, the U of R is like the one place where it feels like a different, like, I don't know if that's Rochester or not, just from the standpoint of, their athletics, they don't really connect, but I digress.
Speaking of U of R, another person that we're going to claim as our own here, Maggie Gray from Maggie and Perloff. Your new morning show on the Fan Rochester, joining us here in about 25 minutes or so. And we'll she's Bills Mafia. We'll get some takes from her on the Bills heading into New England here for their Week 7 matchup.
I also want to ask her about Belichick because that's going to be kind of one of the storylines after this. How does the story end? Like when you talk, and this is before our time, but I've heard the stories of, hey, greatest baseball player, center fielder of all time, Willie Mays. In the end, he's tripping over himself and like, okay, time's up. No, really, you have to stop playing. I mean, you do have other instances of athletes that are like, hey, dude, you were once great. Are we at that point for Bill Belichick here? Do you give him more rope to try to dig yourself out of this, or is this such a mess here? How does the story end? I don't know. It's fascinating.
I think you need an ownership change, or you need him to pass it down to his kid, and then his kid can be the bad guy and turn the page on the Bill Belichick era. I think if it's Robert Kraft calling the shots, he's not leaving. That guy's not leaving.
So Robert Kraft, who just married the 40-something-year-old doctor last year.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I know. I'm just trying to hop inside the Robert Kraft mind. Like, when you want to just kind of, you're not going to do the heavy lift yourself. So wouldn't this be the good time to pass the baton? I don't think Bills fans should root for that, by the way. I think you should just keep everything together.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think what they'll do is he'll stay there and he'll continue to get, 4 or 5 wins, 6 wins a season. And it'll take a while, but he'll eventually get to that record. And then that will be that.
Are you warming up to my take from right around Labor Day where I said, hey, Bill Belichick will not be back next year. He'll take a year off, and then he's gonna chase that record with somebody else.
No,
next year.
I'm not warming up.
So like if he's done with the Patriots, he's done in the NFL.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think there's some team that would be desperate enough that would bring him in. I'd love to see him in like
based on what though? I mean,
based on he's like the greatest coach of all time.
Okay, but without Tom Brady, he hasn't shown anything. Anything. No ability to draft. No ability to develop, no ability to win without Tom Brady. Before Tom Brady, after Tom Brady.
Before Tom Brady, one of the best defensive
coordinators.
Right, yeah.
Right? We talk about that all the time. Like some guys are just better coordinators than they are head coaches. And for whatever reason, it ain't working with Bill Belichick in New England right now without Tom Brady. I don't know what Tom Brady brought to the I mean, outside of his play on the field, of course, but there was a leadership quality with Tom Brady, and he was a salesman. He was able to recruit players to come to New England and make them better through the years. That wasn't Belichick.
Right. So we're in the moment right now, but it's hard to kind of envision this danger. What I'm giving you is a timeline for 2025. Like, honestly, it's like you take a year off, and in 2025, will the Giants need a new head coach? Name any number of teams. The Colts, I don't know. Like, who might be teams? And then when the local media is doing the candidates, that name will come up again and again.
If you're selling hope and you're a desperate team, sure. You know, his name will probably come up. Do I think he does it? I don't know that he does it, man. I don't know that he does it. He feels like he's reaching that territory that a lot of those college basketball coaches, like, players nowadays, they just, like it's harder and harder for them to get through, to get their message through. They haven't really fully adapted. You know what I'm saying?
Like who might be one of those college basketball coaches, Mike Dane?
Well, if we are allowed to rifle off some takes here, I think ESPN is making a mistake. ESPN is reportedly going to hire Jim Boeheim for the upcoming basketball season.
Oh, Westwood won too.
He'll do the radio, analyst work on the radio side for the NCAA tournament games. Boy, Gino, for someone who's vocally shared his opinion on how flawed the college basketball product is, he sure doesn't have an issue making money off of it.
I bet you they're not paying him hardly anything. Like, this is like something he would love to do. Why not just he should just the station he owns part of in Syracuse, just have your own show. It should just be the Jim Boeheim show, 1 hour a day where you just get to go blah, 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 blah.
Be critical of the program, fire himself. I'm curious. I'll watch. I want to see. He's got a way of turning on the charm when the cameras are on, and it's not a post-game press conference. Like if the media isn't involved or grilling him with questions, he does have a charm about him. We saw it for years.
Okay, true. But as you can attest to, television's a different animal where you got to answer to different. Jim Boeheim at this point of his life is not answering to anybody. Now, can he adjust? I mean, Bobby Knight
is he coachable?
Yeah, I don't think
he's coachable as an on-air talent. Will somebody at ESPN, a director, get in his ear and tell him, "Hey, coach, now is not the time to talk about how flawed the product is. We're here to try and get people to watch longer."
This is why some people love Boeheim, because he tells it like it is. Yeah. He doesn't have that restrictor plate on his mouth. So I think that will get him in, not in hot water, but maybe that's what ESPN wants.
Yeah, look, they want somebody if they could have the college basketball version of Charles Barkley. And Charles Barkley does college basketball too. I'm aware of that. But you want somebody that's unfiltered, that will just say what he says.
But in this sport, you need somebody who's going to call out the coach. Boeheim's not doing that.
Too many friends.
No, he wants everybody to kiss his butt still.
Yeah. Well, it's intriguing, and we'll be looking out for that here as the college basketball season gets underway. Jim Boeheim reportedly joining ESPN for the upcoming season, doing some studio work as well as some games for the network, and then doing analyst work on the radio side for the NCAA tournament games coming up in March.
Here are the rules when it comes to calling our show, or just maybe any show in general, all right? Don't waste people's time. Okay, you're representing yourself. You're representing your fan base in a way. And Danger, I love this rant. After taking a call on 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, we don't have the actual audio of the call. But the caller said, the Browns should fire Kevin Stefanski. This following a win over the Niners.
Yeah.
Host Anthony Lima here, he had enough.
What I don't understand is how we've become this lowest common denominator thing. And I've been critical of Kevin. I said there are other coaches I'd rather have right now than Kevin. But I don't see the fruits of that today after we beat the 49ers and Ken lost his voice and we were having so much fun over the last 3 days, 2 days. I don't understand how that's condensed. It's distilled into taking calls about firing the coach. So if you guys want to fire him after that win, then I don't really want to take calls going forward because you're just going to want to fire him after every game because it's not going to get better than beating San Francisco with PJ Walker, at least until the playoffs. There's going to be no bigger victory than that. So what is the point of this? It's an exercise in futility going forward for these fans. I can't believe that we have gotten it down to the basic level of just wanting to fire the coach after every game. You're smarter than that. I thought we were a better football town than that. And I thought this whole thing was a buildup into something more special, more spectacular than just doing fire the coach radio after a win over the 49ers, a team that nobody thought we had a chance to beat going into this game. Every national pundit, every local pundit, we all, except for Andy and Medina, said we are probably going to get our asses kicked this week. Can we just limit the damage? Can we not get totally exposed 2 weeks in a row with a backup quarterback? So you had a practice squad XFL hero go in rainy conditions and you beat the 49ers and we're doing fire the coach radio. I'm sorry, I have no interest in doing that going forward. I really don't.
All right. So, I mean, I love the rant. Great rant.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about this a little bit. A lot of times you'll hear the most ridiculous takes in the postgame, right? Like Nate Geary, the guys in Buffalo, they're doing the Lord's work, dealing with drunk Bill fan after a win or after a loss. It doesn't really matter because you're not your true self. You're highly emotional. And my thing was, give yourself give yourself 12 hours. Give yourself a sleep. Get a good night's sleep. Wake up, and once some of that emotion of the win or the loss is worn off, now you have more rational thinking and a more rational mind, and then you can call us on a blame assessment Monday and say, here's what went wrong. Here's what I think they can do. It doesn't have to be as simple as Ken Dorsey needs to go or fire McDermott. Hell, you have Josh Allen mentioning today about Ken Dorsey. No one knows the reads we have, the blocking schemes we have in the offensive line room. It comes down to us executing and making sure I'm on task. It starts with me. That's the quarterback saying, yeah, the coaches tell us what to do. We need to execute. If we don't execute, how is it their fault? They didn't do the wrong thing. And by the way, who are you getting now? If you're the guy that's saying fire the offensive coordinator now, who are you getting now that's going to be better than what you have?
Well, I have tremendous respect for Tim Graham as a writer. He has great sources. Is it a little crazy that the Bills put up 48 points? 48 points against a team that many think could represent the AFC in the Miami Dolphins. And then just 2 weeks later, 14 days later, Sean McDermott is fielding a question, is Ken Dorsey still going to be calling plays after the Bills put up 48? Oh, and you actually won the night before somehow.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I give him. He asked the question.
He asked the question
that a lot of fans wanted to know. But I'm saying those fans, if you're one of those fans, it's okay. Like, you can have it in your head. Like, you could say to yourself, Dorsey just isn't my guy. I'm just not a Dorsey guy. Hell, we just talked about Jim Boeheim. I've said it. I'm just not a Jim Boeheim guy. I mean, I can appreciate his legacy. I can appreciate all that he's done for the community, all he's done for that program. He just rubs me the wrong way. I'm just not a Boeheim guy. You can be not a Dorsey guy, but it's ridiculous to go after every game and be like, well, they need to fire off. They need to fire him, and they need to fire the coach. Like, guys, what are we doing? That doesn't happen. You're not going to fire the coach who's done what he's done with this team the way he's done it. You're not going to move on from the offensive coordinator after he finished last season with a top 5 offense. Who are you getting that's better than that? I love that rant. He's right. He's right. So we encourage people to call us at 866-4326. We want to talk to you at 585-866-4FAN. Bring something to the table other than fire the coach or fire the coordinator, because it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way, guys. It just doesn't work that way.
How many head coaches have been fired so far? How many coordinators have been fired so far?
None yet.
No.
I mean, it's not unrealistic to think that some coaches will lose their jobs here in the coming weeks.
Well, we were talking, Dan DeLorean and I kind of got on this part yesterday, like, wow, normally we have one coach, one team saying, all right, we're going to hand over the reins this interim. Who might be that team that makes the first move? And I had my answer yesterday, Danger. Like, see if you, or do we just get to the end of the season? There actually aren't any in-season firings.
Well, I feel like Frank Reich is
that was my answer. Yeah.
I feel like Frank Reich, for the guy that they all want to develop the quarterback, and maybe part of that is him handing off the offensive coordinator play calling duties to his actual offensive coordinator, so he can spend more time actually developing Bryce Young into who they invest. But when you hear the coach say, "I meet with the owner every week," those meetings aren't fun, but they're making me better. Like, okay, you're not really enjoying your job, and you could say that they're making you better all you want. You don't need to be better. You need to get out of there. You need to get out of that situation, because you're not making it. So yeah, I mean, like that. It's just look. You expect a higher standard out of us. We expect a higher standard out of you. That's all. We have high standards here in the sports.
Fire the coach radio.
Fire the coach radio.
Maybe we'll get to a day, I don't know, with one of our teams. You know what? Fire the coach. That's the thing.
We're not there yet.
No.
With either of them. If we're talking Sabres and Bills, I mean, like, I think both of them have been fine. I don't think that if you want to talk about coordinators, fine. I mean, like, look, the Bills have moved on from coordinators. We can talk about that. But I don't think they're moving on from the coordinator that had a top 5 offense last year and put up 48 against the Dolphins. That offense looked flawless because they were executing. And Josh Allen will be the first person to tell you, we need to execute. And if we're not doing it, it ain't going to look right. You can blame the coordinator all you want, but it's on us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else do we have here? Oh, you had another take.
Yeah, I got another take. So, Pro Football Talk. It's actually kind of newsy, or maybe not. Maybe it's hot takey. You be the judge. Pro Football Talk is reporting, that USC quarterback Caleb Williams, who many think he'll probably come out if he's the number one pick, but he's saying, I don't know if I'm going to come out or not. Well, according to Florio, representatives of the quarterback are making it known to prospective agents. Okay, let's put a full stop in there. Caleb Williams hasn't signed with an agent. He could in this day and age. He has not. But if you want to represent Caleb Williams, you, Mr. and Ms. Agent, this is what's going to be expected. Partial ownership of the team that selects them in 2024, if indeed he declares for the draft.
Yeah.
Okay. Danger, it doesn't hurt to ask. Okay, it never hurts to ask. You shouldn't be ask for the raise. Well, they're going to say no. Okay, and the answer is no. Or is it? Is there an owner dumb enough to actually say, you know what? We're going to be the team. And I can think of one guy who would be dumb enough. In fact, he wanted to give a piece of his team as a jock sniffer to Tom Brady. I'm talking about Mark Davis.
Yeah.
They need a quarterback. But remember, this is why it's hot takey. It's never going to get off first base. Any ownership change, even if it's 0.1%, has to be voted on. There is absolutely no way the other owners in the league would ever say, yeah, let's set the precedent here.
Right. You remember how mad they got when Cleveland forked over all that money, guaranteed money, and set a different precedent, reset the quarterback market with Deshaun Watson. Like, nobody came out and said, hey, we're blackballing that team. But every other NFL owner is pissed off that they did that. Like, what are you doing? They collude like crazy. There's no chance that anybody would let this get through. If they have to vote on it, there's no chance. By the way, I don't know if you saw Roger Goodell.
2027.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, did we get numbers on? I don't think I saw any numbers on what this extension means, but he'll be in that position now until he's 68. He will have had it for over 20 years, and chances are he'll retire with more money than he'll know what to do with, assuming that this is his last deal. The last deal was supposed to be his last deal, but the guy that said that this would be his last deal is no longer with the NFL, so Goodell kind of extends and continues on.
Why is it commissioners stay in power much longer than you think they should? Because you would think it's a tough job, or is it just so much fun to have all that power? I think Bettman should have been gone decades ago. I look at Rob Manfred, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's never going to leave, is he? He's going to stay here for another 20 years.
But he works for the owners.
Yeah.
So do the owners like him?
Everybody's making money this day and age.
Mm-hmm. They're all making money. It's not like the value of their team is going backwards.
So I'm looking at this all wrong. I'm looking at it from a fan standpoint.
Right.
The owners love these guys that are taking the bullets.
Absolutely right. And Goodell is the poster child. He's done it better than anybody when you think of some of the adversities that the NFL has had to deal with. I mean, hell, you don't have to go back just over 5 years ago when we were just starting. We were just a little baby show, and the NFL had all kinds of image issues, right? All kinds of image problems. Is the game less popular today than it was? They even if they took a hit that year, they're fine. They will continue to be fine. And Goodell will continue to take all those bullets using the shield to deflect them and protect all of the owners in the league. He gets another extension. Everybody loves him. Good for him. And I mentioned this earlier, and I'll mention it again. We're going to get Maggie Gray on from Maggie and Perloff here in just a few. If you were somebody who was excited about Leonard Fournette potentially signing with the Bills, a report that turned out to be baseless, right? There was really nothing to it.
It probably was conversation, but the report that it's a good chance of signing, not anywhere close. No.
Just remember when you hear of any player aligned with the Bills or any team for that matter, most NFL coaches get high on the same thing from a player, just knowing their assignment. We as fans will focus in on the stat line, we'll focus in on the skill set that may walk through that door with a newly acquired player. But it's the details in his game that matter most to the organization. So why didn't the Bills use Nyheim Hines more last year after the trade deadline? We knew he was a good pass catcher out of the backfield, but why? Why didn't they go? Because McDermott didn't trust that he knew his assignments on those plays. Why is Latavius Murray running the ball late against the Giants to milk clock? Because McDermott trusts that the veteran, the oldest active running back in the league, won't fumble in that spot. A second-year player like James Cook hasn't earned that trust yet. A player knowing their assignment is coach's catnip. It's why we rarely see the Bills bring in an outsider. Somebody that has connections with the team is more likely to get signed, and use them the way that we expect them to right away. You see also draft picks. Like, I think it takes time for some of these guys to build trust. See also, and especially the defensive side of the ball, where he's being judged most harshly. It's why Kyer Elam wasn't active the beginning part of the season. He doesn't trust that he knows what he's doing. He doesn't trust that he knows where he needs to be when you need him out there. You got to earn that trust, build that trust, and bringing in a guy like Leonard Fournette from the outside in who doesn't know your offense, not happening.
No.
Not happening. All right. We're going to move on to Maggie Gray. So we got a new morning show here on the Fan Rochester. You're waking up every morning with Maggie and Perloff. You remember Perloff is McLovin, and Maggie is, well, we're claiming her as one of our own. Rochester's own Maggie Gray.
She has Rochester roots.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let her explain here, but she is a Bills fan. You're going to figure that out quickly.
We'll get into that more next with Maggie Gray, the co-host of Maggie and Perloff, joining us next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
Follow your heart to a $199 lease deal from Vision Hyundai. Just $199 a month. Leases the 23 Hyundai Kona SEL all-wheel drive for 36 months. Plus, every Hyundai comes with America's best warranty, 10 years, and a 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty and Hyundai Assurance. Call 888-747-0516 for details. 3 locations, 3 times the selection. Follow your heart to VisionHyundaiRochester.com.
My name is Abby from Tom Walls in Avon. I remember my father telling me how he used to make Tom Walls homemade root beer. Now, I'm making it using the same recipe and still in small batches. Stop by and try a frosted mug of Tom Walls root beer today. Who knows, I may have made yours.
Hurt on a motorcycle? Call William Attar. We'll fight for you. There are short time deadlines, so call now. Hurt on a motorcycle? Call William Attar. 585-444-4444. West Main Street, Rochester.
Every Tuesday in the Sports Bar, listen for who's in hot water. Find out how good hot water can be at Ace Swim and Leisure. All 4 locations and aceswim.com.
Ace Swim and Leisure.
Hey, it's Jeff, the Minister of Mayhem from Three Heads Brewing, reminding you that it's tailgate season. Make your tailgate complete with a 12-pack of Kind IPA or the Tiny Kind Session IPA. If you can't make it to the stadium, tailgating at home with the Kind or Tiny Kind is always the right play. Just hide the tables. Pick Three Heads up at your favorite beer shop or stop by Three Heads on Atlantic Avenue where we are rocking with live music every Friday and Saturday night. Three Heads Brewing, craft brewed in Rochester, just for you.
Ben Weitzman of Rochester wants your medal. That's right, we want your medal. Got old cars? We pay cash. Washers, dryers, aluminum brass. The highest price, same day cash. Aluminum steel, we'll make a deal. Honest and accurate weights don't delay. Ben Weitzman of Rochester on Steel Street behind Old Lindo's Cash and Carry. You want cash? We want your medal.
Open 7 days a week. For more information and hours, visit upstateshredding.com.
needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
A few clouds tonight with winds from the southwest and a low near 45.
Weather brought to you by AutoZone. What makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination? Because they offer free battery testing and charging and reliable replacement batteries. And they've always got your battery solution. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Local sports than the Fan Rochester. That's because we're the only sports station with hosts who actually live here. 95.7 and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills back at work today getting ready for the Patriots. Don't worry about Josh Allen. He says he's fine.
No concernment. We'll be ready to go. I would put it in the pain management, but, it's feeling pretty good.
Not practicing today at Oliver, Quentin Morris, and Damian Harris. Dalton Kincaid has cleared concussion protocol. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills football coming up next. Maggie Gray, the co-host of Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio, joining us next. A trade in the NFL today. The Chiefs bringing back wide receiver Mecole Hardman. The Jets, in exchange, getting a pick swap. Rochester Americans tonight playing at Laval. Don Stevens will have your call here beginning at 7. Game 3 of the ALCS. Texas leading Houston 2-0. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Well, we've got great respect for the Patriots and what they've accomplished. I mean, they have a deep history of winning, and that's not easy to do in this league. And so really our focus is on this week's game and not what's happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future, but our focus and sole focus needs to be on this week's game.
Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott, Patriot Week in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're back with us, and we're claiming her as one of us. Maggie Gray. You can hear her mornings on the Fan Rochester, co-host of Maggie and Perloff, making her inaugural visit into the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. So much to get caught up, and we want to talk plenty of Buffalo Bills. But tell us first, Maggie, welcome in and tell us a little bit about your connections to the Flower City.
Oh, man, guys, thank you. So I've been waiting for the call, by the way, to come on and talk sports with you guys because I have so many connections to Rochester, and I love that city. So my older brother went to U of R, so I have partied in Rochester very hard, so thank you for all of that. And then to double down, I married a guy from Rochester. His parents lived in Charlotte, had moved out of the west side of Rochester and then moved out to Charlotte when we met in New York City. And I've been back to Rochester. I mean, you want to talk garbage plates? Let's go Lilac Festival. I love Rochester, and I only wish I got back more.
Here's how you know she's not a fraud. She said Charlotte. Anybody that's an outsider would not call it Charlotte. They'd look at it and be like, oh, you live in Charlotte? No, it's not Charlotte, New York. It's Charlotte. Everybody knows that.
I was just stunned when you wrote back and said, yes, I know all about Rochester because, Maggie, we have a thing here in Rochester, like if there's a remote connection, we kind of claim you as our own. Like, for example, Rory McIlroy, well, he's one of us because he married the Rochester girls. So, like it or not, you're one of us here, Maggie.
Are you crazy? So I'm from Binghamton, New York, and I'm like a proud county from Binghamton. But Rochester is like Paris to us, like Rochester and Syracuse is like London and Paris. I mean, I always looked at Rochester. I'm like, I'm going to like the big city. I used to get on the short line bus or the Greyhound bus from Binghamton, take it to go see my older brother who was at U of R, as I said. And I was like, oh, I'm going like somewhere super cool, like we get, go to Henrietta Hots there. Like what, where am I? I feel like I'm in a foreign country. It was always so cool. And I have just great memories of Rochester. Again, I got to get back up there more often.
All right, well, you've got an open invite here in the sports bar, Maggie. You know that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Bills because we were actually just talking about how sports talk radio listeners will immediately go to the low-hanging fruit and the lowest common denominator, fire the coordinator, fire the head coach, right? And other teams have bigger problems than what the Buffalo Bills do, but you have concerns after you saw that game on Sunday night. What do you seeing, Megan, when you watch this Bills offense? What looks out of sync to you? And if we're assessing blame, who gets the brunt of it?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that you can tell almost from the first drive of the game what type of game this is going to be for the Bills offense. Are they going to actually show any even shred of a commitment to the run game, or are they going to completely abandon it so that, we can get the Josh Allen hero ball? This is the one thing I don't understand about the Bills offense. First of all, before I criticize the team, I just want to say, as a lifelong diehard Buffalo Bills fan, like the fact that the team is as good as they are, relevant. We've been waiting for a quarterback like Josh Allen since Jim Kelly. Like, I'm so appreciative that the team's finally relevant again and good and competing for titles. That said, I do think you can criticize the team, and they fall in love with these explosive plays. Now, do you need explosive plays to win? Sure. But look at how you got to also play the game you're in, right? Like the perfect example was the Jets game. And I know if you want to say, oh, they got rattled because Aaron Rodgers left the game. Well, what game are you in now with Zach Wilson? You're not in a game where you need to be going for everything on first, second, and third down. You have more weapons on offense than the Jets. You should have been able to beat them handily. Same thing with the New York Giants. So those are like the bad Buffalo offensive games. And then you see how beautifully it can work against the Raiders, against the Commanders, and then against the Miami Dolphins. Like, they need balance on offense. And again, you can tell almost from the first drive of the game what this is going to be like.
I'm just wondering, too, Maggie. Maggie is the co-host of Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Certainly, Josh Allen trusts Stephon Diggs. Had 12 targets in the first half in that win over the Giants. But does he trust anybody else? Like, is there somebody else that can be that number 2 target for sure on this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone thought it was going to be Gabe Davis, right? So, the 13 seconds game, like, he's so incredible. It's like, oh, well, of course this is just going to be slot in Diggs 1, Davis 2, and you're ready to go. But, and we've all been watching football long enough. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it's not just totally, hey, one guy's one way one season and then better. You're going to take steps sideways. You might take steps backwards. I mean, I still think Davis is a weapon. And then, obviously, we know that Josh loves Dawson Knox. And then they went out and drafted Kincaid, who obviously now has been dealing with some health stuff. So I think he obviously trusts Knox. I don't know if the fan base trusts Knox as much as Josh does. I do think there are enough weapons. Now, I don't know if you guys think the same thing, but I always thought there was a great element to the Bills' offense when they have a guy who's just like in the slot that's not Diggs. Like I always thought there was that guy who could just be the third down, move the sticks guy, and it's almost like Josh is missing a little bit of that safety blanket. I think they think it's going to be the 2 tight ends, but it just hasn't worked out that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're referencing the years that they had Beasley in the slot.
Yeah,
I mean,
Beasley, Isaiah McKenzie when you trusted him, guys like that.
Right. So you bring in Kincaid, and this is the thing that I thought was hilarious because, when he was drafted, we all kind of scratched our head. I'm like, oh, they drafted Dalton Kincaid, and everybody's like, well, he's not a tight end. He's just kind of a pass catcher. I mean, this guy's going to be out there. You could line him up in the slot. And so far, we just haven't seen the Bills utilize Dalton Kincaid. Now, dealing with the health issue, we'll probably see him again this weekend, but they haven't utilized him anywhere near the way he was utilized at college at Utah. So it begs the question, are they using their guys and playing these guys to their strengths, or is it a lack of trust, or is it just that, Josh Allen is only going to trust the guys that he trusts and Ken Dorsey's only going to trust the guys that he trusts? Is there a trust issue within the ranks here in Buffalo?
It's a totally fair question after you watch games like the Giants and the Jets game, and even Jacksonville to a certain extent. I mean, I kind of throw away all those games in Europe, like weird stuff happens. The lighting's weird in those stadiums. Like I hate when my teams have to play in those London games or Germany or wherever the NFL wants to play on the moon probably soon. But I think that I don't love those games. I think you can kind of throw them out. But again, it goes to your point about trust and also can the offense find any balance? Like, you did draft James Cook in the second round. Like, you do have the ability to run the ball. I know Damian Harris, how scary was that against the Giants? It was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. Here we go again with another player who's, being taken off the field with an ambulance. But it looks like all signs are pointing to, him having a recovery. I just, a good recovery and a quick one. I just can't believe that they don't utilize the run game more, especially when you're going against teams that are inferior. Like, let's call it what it is. And I'm really,
really curious how they're going to play the Patriots this weekend. Because the Patriots, I don't know about you guys, but Bill Belichick will forever live rent-free in my head. There's just been too many losses to Belichick over the years, but at the same time, this is not those scary Patriots teams. And I'm worried that the Bills have a tendency to play down to their competition, and I don't want to see them get overthink this when it comes to the Patriots. This is a beatable team. They should be easily beatable. Don't get caught up in your own heads, guys. Just play to your strengths, and you should win this game by 3 scores.
Maggie, let's jump ahead here to the Patriots. As Danger and I, we're too young to remember. We've heard stories about Willie Mays stumbling around in the outfield. I mean, are we getting to that point with Belichick? I mean, I'm fascinated. How does this story end? It's like there's no quick fixes there in New England.
No, it's so funny. I'm so scared of Belichick after all those years of them just kicking our butts, where I feel like if you say his name 3 times, he's going to appear in the mirror. I mean, it's really, it's a deep fear of Belichick. And any kind of, division rivals, but specifically him. It is so bizarre to watch this ending. And what's so bizarre about it is it's actually Belichick, the general manager, who I think is more to blame than Belichick, the coach. Now, the coach also gets some blame because what other coaches is he putting around him? How come Mac Jones has clearly taken massive steps backwards? But I think him as the GM is the part that really deserves the criticism. And if he leaves New England and they decide to part ways, anywhere he goes, he's going to want to be the GM. This is the old Bill Parcells line. You can't let me, if I'm going to pick out the groceries if you want me to cook the meal. And so where is he going to go where a team would trust him to be their GM now that they see the product on the field in New England?
Yeah, and that's the point I keep making. I don't see him going anywhere else. If he's not in New England, where is he going?
Well, he's going to want to chase that record, though, right? I mean, when he takes
the best case scenario is, like we've been discussing, it would be great, Maggie, if Belichick, has carte blanche because of the rings and because of the history, and Robert Kraft just lets him ride it out, and you're getting 4, 5, 6 wins every season out of New England, and eventually breaks that record down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love it. New England, 4, 5, 6 wins a season, sign me up as a Bills fan. This would be great to be able to knock around Belichick for a couple more years. I don't know about this. I could actually see them parting ways. I just hope that wherever Belichick goes, it's as far away from the AFC East as humanly possible. It's been enough. I've had enough. I've seen enough. It's the greatest coach of my lifetime, probably. Maybe we could quibble about that, but he's got the rings, and I just want to, not have to worry about Bill Belichick anymore. I don't need this guy in my nightmares anymore.
Maggie Gray, our guest here in the Sports Bar. So you get the Patriots, you get the Buccaneers, then Maggie, it gets real. You get the Bengals on Sunday night, you get the Jets again, okay, Denver, whatever, but then you get the Chiefs and the Eagles, and they're all coming up here. So my question is this, because there's a star on this team that the Bills are kind of slow playing. How do you think they've handled Von Miller so far? Because quite frankly, I was surprised they activated him when they did, and, well, he's been out there the last 2 weeks, but I can't recall one play where he made a difference here.
Yeah, I was advocating to just keep stashing Vaughn. Keep stashing him. Let's keep this guy in some bubble wrap until about, December. You just need him for really the stretch run, kind of the total opposite of his usage last year where he goes out and wasn't there for the stretch run. But now considering the injuries that they've suffered, I mean, guys, I was trying to think about this, and listen, this season I'm not sure how it's going to go, but I cannot remember the last time a team lost this many all-pros and Pro Bowlers on defense and still was able to win a Super Bowl. That's where I'm worried. I know Tre'Davious White wasn't playing exactly how he was in his Pro Bowl years, but he's still damn good. Daquan Jones and obviously Matt Milano, who anybody who's been watching the Bills for any amount of time knows how important Milano is to the defense. And Von Miller is going to have to make up for a lot of that. Now, the cool thing about the Bills, and credit the front office, they have just kept drafting pass rushers. And pass rushers and pass rushers. And besides Boogie Basham, it feels like a lot of these guys are really working out. They're really holding their own. And so maybe they can hold the fort, but Vaughn at some point is going to have to shoulder some of this. I mean, Leonard Floyd has been a revelation. That was a great signing. Epinesa obviously coming into his own. But at some point, Vaughn's going to have to really step up. But, save it. Let's save it a little towards the end of the season. so he doesn't get hurt and he's peaking at the right time.
Megan, we all had our reservations when they moved on from Leslie Frazier, and Sean McDermott said he was going to be the defensive play caller, but it appears so far so good, even with the depleted talent on the defensive side of the ball due to all those injuries. What's your take on McDermott's defense so far? It feels very bend but don't break to me, and we'll just score more points than you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, McDermott has been so steady and solid. I don't know if you guys have gotten this impression or if you thought about this at all, if it crossed your mind. So watching the Giants game, right, and you see Brian Daboll, who I know is native son, Buffalo, claim him as, if you're claiming me as a Rochester native, then Daboll's got to be in the area.
Oh, he's ours, yeah.
He's a U of R grad.
Yeah. Oh, right. And he coached at U of R. What am I talking about? Of course. So, yeah, he's one of us. But the way he's going berserk on the sidelines at times is pretty crazy, I thought. I was a little surprised that he's been this animated on the sideline. And to me, it made me appreciate McDermott a little bit more. Just the fact that he's always been so professional. But at the same time, the expectations for this team are sky high. And so for McDermott, I think he's done a great job with the defense considering all the injuries. But just for the coaching staff as a whole, I mean, it's hard to ignore there's an elephant in the room here of a ticking clock. And now I'm not saying that anyone's window is closing. I mean, hell, Allen should be entering his prime right now, and the contract would certainly reflect that. But, there's got to be a bit of impatience, right, because of all the close losses that you've had in the playoffs. And I appreciate McDermott, but I have to believe that, there's got to have been some uncomfortable conversations at some point, or there will be if the Bills flame out this season.
So, Maggie, you're in the city, so you just brought up a contrast between two coaches with very different styles, and we saw the handshake afterwards, and it's clear that there's some sort of friction between McDermott and Daboll. But does that play better if you're the coach of the New York Giants? Do the Giants fans want somebody that's animated like Daboll, somebody that is going to chew out a player for making a boneheaded play, or do you think that it's more widely accepted if you had a more presidential head coach like you have in a guy like Sean McDermott?
Yeah, I think that I'm going to be honest now, having been on WFAN for several years and kind of really getting to know, I think, the DNA of Giants fans and Jets fans may be a little different, but they love it, guys, when you're winning. And when you're not winning, then it just looks like eyewash. And it's, and it just goes hand in hand. I'm not saying that means Giants or Jets fans are fair weather or anything like that, but they will roll with it if it's winning. The moment it's not working and it looks like you're being, kind of embarrassment, you're pointing fingers, you're not taking accountability yourself as the coach, instead pushing it off on the players. Whenever there's a scent and a whiff of that and you're losing games, then you have to worry about the fan base. But so far, no one has turned on him, in New York. He's still in really good standing. They like that, the fan base, I think, likes that he's holding guys accountable. But at the same time, if we're doing a little self-scouting, I think everybody on the organization, in the Giants that is, has to wear the loss to the Bills. They can blame that the no call and the untimed down at the end of the game, but there were many mental errors that happened on the Giants side. Obviously, the end of the first half was a big one for Tyrod Taylor, who we love, of course, from his days in Buffalo. But, the whole coaching staff, to me, has to wear that, not just the player.
So, Maggie, here comes the $1 million question, because I'm going to make the assumption the Bills are a playoff team, whether that's a wild card, whether that's a division, whatever it is. And we're going to get to that point again, a close game in the playoffs. And also, I want to thank you so much for all those great memories on your show this morning. Hearing, oh my gosh, wide right, and there's home run throwback in 13 seconds. This is a franchise that has just been tortured. And hey, that was only 2 years ago. Why not throw in a Bengals loss that you should have beat? My point is, what will get this team over the hump? Because I think for a lot of us in Western New York, and I think for the team itself, it's a mental thing at this point. They have the ability to win the postseason, but what will get them over that point, Maggie?
Yeah, wait, first let me defend the show so that people actually might want to tune in. We don't just go through the Bills very painful losses every morning as part of some morning routine. We were doing something we do on Wednesdays called the Great Debate Series, where we just do big sports debates, and today was the worst sports loss of all time. And it could have been anything. Could have been team, could have been an individual meltdown like golf, Jean Van de Velde. It could have been, I picked Malcolm Butler at the goal line because I think that the Seattle Seahawks are still kind of reeling from that in some ways. My co-host Perloff picked Chris Webber's timeout as something that has lived with him for such a long time. We got so many great responses, but I didn't go Bills because I feel like the Bills, the Vikings, the Browns, we all could have our own subcategory. But so that's why we were talking about a little bit about the Bills this morning and about some of the bad endings. But is it mental? Man, I hope not, because if it is, that means that solidifies probably something that maybe Bills fans and maybe the organization doesn't want to face, which is the 13 seconds game might have been the best shot. And I'm not willing to say yet that they're not going to have another great shot at this and that they're not going to have learned from those mistakes in that game and can be better for it. I'm not giving up. This hasn't beaten me down yet. Hell, we're Bills fans. We've been through worse. And I think if a few things can break right and they can start peaking at the right time at the end of the season, why not the Bills, really? I mean, we have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We still have a great defense despite some of the injuries. I'm saying we now, like I'm suiting up for the team. But I'm still with this team.
Maggie Gray joining us, co-host of Maggie and Perloff. You can now hear mornings here on the Fan Rochester. And Maggie, you're gracious with your time to stop by the sports bar and talk to Gene and I. I wanted to make sure you had some time to tell our audience what you and Perloff bring to the table now mornings, because traditionally you guys were on in the afternoon and nobody could hear you because we had us two taking up your airspace. So now that you're on in Morning Drive on the Fan, what can we expect out of the Maggie and Perloff show mornings?
I mean, just nonstop fun for 4 hours. I mean, this is our goal is wherever you are, whatever time zone you might be in, but Eastern time for us, if you're getting in the car at that hour of the morning, we want to make it entertaining for you. So maybe your day just gets a little bit better, right? Just a little bit better, a little bit nicer, a little bit sunnier. Of course, we love talking about sports, but we go totally off the handle on everything else. I'll give you, for example, we love doing show bets. So my co-host, Andrew Perloff, was on the Dan Patrick Show for 12 years. People might know him as McLovin. Mm-hmm. And show bets is something that we brought inspired by the Dan Patrick Show. And I'll tell you guys, we've had some doozies. So the first week of the new morning show, Perloff had made me a bet. This is kind of random, but Perloff had made me a bet. He thought that Joe Burrow was going to sign for less money than Justin Herbert, right? So this is back in the summer when these guys were signing these contracts, or back in September. Like, you're crazy, man. These guys, like, this, they don't sign for less. They sign for more. You know, the Tom Brady days, like, those are over, man.
Yeah.
So he lost the bet, and by losing it, he had to eat a bowl of Skyline chili with no hands.
Oh.
I saw the clips of that online. He was wearing the yellow poncho, and he was. I mean, it was a disturbing image. I don't know that I need to see that again, Maggie. That was well done.
I got to be honest, you're so lucky you weren't in the room with him, because it was twice as disturbing just being there. So that's just one example. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We have a lot of fun. Lots of Bills talk, obviously, because I'm there. And we just have a good time. And by the way, you're not taking up any of my time. My husband was so happy that I was going on the Fan in Rochester. He's like, I'll call you for dinner.
That's awesome. And Maggie, if we're workshopping bet ideas, I mean, maybe if it's a Bills-related bet, you get Perloff to go hands-free on a garbage plate. What do you think?
Oh, guys, that's inspired. I wonder if he knows what a garbage plate is.
Nope. Time to introduce it to the world.
You know what's funny? So my co-host is a big Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Yep.
So maybe I'm circling November 26th.
Ooh.
Bills at the Link.
Good stuff.
We got
Loser eats the garbage plate.
I mean, Maggie, you've had the garbage plate, so you know what you're in for. Would you be opposed to doing the garbage plate hands-free as a payback to having him do the Skyline chili hands-free?
Hands-free. So I was willing to do it. If I had lost the bet, I was going to do it. You know, those images are probably going to live on the internet forever, hopefully. So, but listen, I'm a woman of my word. I always pay my debts and my bets. So if I would be willing to put that bet on the Bills, of course.
Maggie, this was so much fun. Ron writing in right now. Maggie is awesome. I've been listening in the morning. Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, Maggie and Perloff in the mornings here on the Fan Rochester. Maggie, let's do this again as we're getting closer to the playoffs.
You guys are the best. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Go Bills.
Maggie Gray is co-host of Maggie and Perloff. You can hear her and Andrew Perloff, McLovin, every morning here on the Fan Rochester, our new morning show. Maggie, Bills Mafia, Rochester Roots. We've claimed her. She's one of us.
She said the thing I think we all kind of fear when we think of 13 seconds.
Oh, that's as good as it's going to get?
That was it. That was it. That was the year. You were going back home to play the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, and on the other side, it was the Rams. You didn't have to deal with Tom Brady. He was already out. You didn't have to deal with Aaron Rodgers. It would have even been Jimmy Garoppolo or Matthew Stafford. They were winning that game.
It's a harsh reality.
It can't end like that.
It's a harsh reality to think that was their best chance. I mean, hey, look, that's the job of Brandon Beane. You got to retool. You got to stay competitive. And the thing that I thought she might say that she didn't say, when you said what do they need to get over the hump, right? I think what they need is another thing that's very intangible. You can't put your finger on it. They need a little luck. They need some luck. They need to stay healthy. They need some things to go their way in terms of who they match up against in the postseason. They need a little luck.
You have to win enough games to be home. You can make your own luck. Can we agree on that?
I don't know, man. I mean, the Bengals didn't have any problem coming in on a day where home field advantage should have been in your favor. It was a crappy winter day in Buffalo, and Cincinnati came in here and smacked them in the mouth. It didn't matter. I mean, you need a little bit of luck. I think you need a little bit of luck, but I accept what she's saying there when she says nobody really wants to admit it, but the Bills' best opportunity was 13 seconds, and that may be as good as it gets. Unless, we look 5 years down the road and Josh Allen is still Josh Allen, and, you've got another wide receiver that is, a younger version of what you have in Diggs, another guy who can get, if you get that guy with separation, maybe you can get something again down the road. But right now, it's hard to imagine that it's going to look better than it did the year that they lost in the 13-second game.
Think Maggie's in-laws were listening in Charlotte?
I just love that she said Charlotte, man.
Yeah.
I mean, she's from here. She knows what's up. She said Charlotte and not Charlotte, like I did when I first moved here. I remember they asked me to voice a commercial, and it was for a nightclub on the beach. And I remember I had to recut it because they're like, no, it's not Charlotte.
What, the Harbor Beach Club?
It was Snappers.
Snappers.
You remember Snappers? Everybody remembers Snappers. Yeah, everybody remembers Snappers. And they asked me to recut it because I said Charlotte like a dummy because I didn't know. I wasn't from here. Maggie knows her stuff. That was a lot of fun. Glad we had her on, and make sure you check them out every morning. Maggie and Perloff here on the Fan Rochester. Happy hour next in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. We have time for your calls if you'd like to join us. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line is open at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. The new location, 135 West Commercial Street in ER, goodsmokebbq.com. Lots to get to next. Happy hour in the sports bar on the Fan Rochester.
HD2 and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills back at work getting ready for the Patriots. Buffalo an 8.5-point favorite. But what about that offense? Sean McDermott gives his thoughts.
I think it's just about, hey, we're going into week 7 now. We should know some of these guys and what they do best and the roles that they're going to play and the positions they're going to occupy for us. And it's putting them in those positions so that we can be the best offense we can become.
Not practicing today at Oliver, Quentin Morris and Damian Harris. Dalton Kincaid, though, has cleared concussion protocol. We did have a trade in the NFL today. Kansas City Chiefs bringing back wide receiver Mecole Hardman. The Jets in return getting a pick swap. Hockey tonight here on The Fan. The Amherst playing in Laval. Don Stevens will have your call beginning at 7. Game 3 of the ALCS tonight. Texas leading Houston 2-0. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We've got great respect for the Patriots and what they've accomplished. I mean, they have a deep history of winning, and that's not easy to do in this league. And so really our focus is on this week's game and not what's happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future.
Touchdown, Patriots!
This is a team without any real weapons, an offensive line that's underperformed, that's banged up at some key spots. So this is a Patriots team down their 2 top playmakers on defense, too. They're a Sunday 1 o'clock team, guys. That's who they are. They're boring. They're poorly coached. Where's the hope?
Mike Danger.
We're going to be talking a lot about the Patriots circling the drain. Are we taking them too lately going into Sunday?
Gene Battaglia.
I don't recognize this team, this franchise whatsoever. I marvel at how things have changed here between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots.
How about we start with some baseball?
Don't do that.
Dylan Cousins trying to create a lane with a shot. Scores! The workhorse from Whitehorse in overtime.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It's happy hour in the sports bar. We've got a Buffalo Bills injury report that reads like a receipt from urgent care, but we'll get to that shortly. Welcome you in at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326, the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. If you want to pull up a stool and join us for happy hour, appreciate you checking us out on the stream at The Fan Rochester, on YouTube and on Twitch. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you know every time that we go live. And we sound our best in the free to download Odyssey app. That's AUDACY.
Yeah, the McLies were kind of thick today. Right? You have to. Like, what can you say that's being, yeah, no, this isn't a good team. We don't recognize this team. Actually, Von Miller also lying today, kind of comparing Mac Jones to Tom Brady.
Stop.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the head coach sets the tone and is probably coaching his guys up never to give bulletin board material. We see through these lies.
Well, we've got great respect for the Patriots and what they've accomplished. I mean, they have a deep history of winning, and that's not easy to do in this league. And so really our focus is on this week's game and not what's happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future, but our focus and sole focus needs to be on this week's game.
I like the last one. I don't have a problem with.
He's pouring it on a little thick. Von Miller comparing Mac Jones to Tom Brady. Stop. What are you doing? We can see through your lies, my man. Yeah, let's not go there.
Can I frame this in a different way? And this, Brett Favre's consecutive game streak ended when Arthur Motes hit him.
Yeah.
All right. This will be the conversation in Boston Sunday night, Monday morning. Like, this is it. It's over. Like, you're 1-6.
They haven't had that conversation yet?
Well, when you're 1-6, there's no coming back. This is it. If you want any chance of turning the season around, that you have to be Buffalo this week.
Yeah, they're not beating Buffalo this week. They're not turning the season around. They're one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst team in the league. And if they're not having that conversation right now in Boston, Gino, did they not watch the 2 consecutive losses that were the worst 2 losses in Bill Belichick's coaching career that happened when they lost the way they did to Dallas?
Oh, all right, let me phrase this another way. Is this the last time the Buffalo Bills go to Foxborough when that guy is on the sideline?
Ooh. I don't think it is. And maybe I'm in the minority. I just don't think they move on from him. And I know this. We brought this up last hour with Maggie Gray, the co-host of Maggie and Perloff, your new morning show here on the Fan Rochester. You can listen to him again tomorrow morning. She thinks that, and you think, I think, are both on the same page. Like, he'll end up somewhere else. But if you're another team and you see that he's going to want to be the GM, why would you let him be the GM when he's proven time and time again he's not very good at the GM part of his job? And that's why I think he stays in New England, because he's not going to have that kind of power anywhere else. I think owners are smart enough to see him and know him. The jury's out. The rest of the NFL was pointing and laughing at some of his picks. Yeah, the Sean McVay clip from a couple of years ago when the New England made the pick that they made, and McVay is just openly on a hot mic on a just laughing like, oh, what was this?
Oh, we had him going in the sixth round.
Chattanooga State is off the board, or whatever it was. Like Belichick, I think when he's drafting kids, I think he always needs to be like the guy that is the smartest guy in the room, and I'm going to take the guy that nobody knows about from this D3 school that might pan out to be something. Maybe, just maybe, I'll get another Tom Brady, who I happen to luck into by taking him in the 6th round all those years ago.
Enjoy this, Bills fans. Okay, a couple things you need to enjoy. Number one, you're not going to face a more feeble offense than this. I don't doubt that Bill Belichick will have some schemes. Maybe everything isn't going to be comfy for the Buffalo Bills offensively. But holy cow, you cannot let that group of... You're relying on Zeke Elliott. Mac Jones still not benched. Somehow.
Yeah.
So you should be taking the ball away in this game. Also enjoy the fact that this is one of 2 remaining Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock kickoffs.
Yeah.
The world has changed here, and it's against the team that was never on in 1 o'clock. Both of them against the Patriots.
Yeah, Catalana mentioned that on Monday when he joined us. Mike Catalana from Buffalo Plus 13 Web Sports. What are the New England Patriots? They're a Sunday 1 o'clock team. They are boring. They're poorly coached. They're not a good football team. The Bills should be able to handle them. We'll continue to discuss through the course of the week. And tomorrow on the Sports Bar, we should mention one of our Odyssey Sports sister stations is WEEI in Boston. Fitzy Stevens is the host of the Six Rings and Things podcast, also the post-game host for the New England Patriots radio network. So you imagine that he's heard some of the calls for Belichick's head here over the course of the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's the host on EEI. I don't know where he comes down on this. That's what's going to be fascinating tomorrow. Are we bringing in a Boston apologist tomorrow? And, we still loan you? I can't hear you.
I don't think so, man. I mean, I feel like, and we've talked to Boston guys. We had Mudd on all those years. I mean, when the tides were starting to turn, I think they're self-aware. At least the guys in the media feel like they're self-aware enough to say, yeah, this ain't it. This ain't working. And we're kind of stuck. You are our daddy now. We get it.
See, you identify with Philly fan. I'm not a fan of any of these teams, but I can identify with Boston fans. I think Boston fan is more tough on their teams than any other fan. The Sox, they'll run anybody out. The Celtics, all those rings. And you look now at what's happening with the Patriots. I think Boston fans are not knowledgeable, but name me a more hypercritical fan base. When they're winning, they're obnoxious. But when they're not winning, very critical.
Yeah. That'll be a fun conversation tomorrow as we continue to get you set up for Sunday afternoon. We'll have pregame coverage here on the Fan Rochester getting underway at 9 a.m. for that 1 o'clock kickoff from Foxborough. So that's tomorrow afternoon. Also tomorrow afternoon, we'll talk some fantasy football with our buddy Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy Sports. That's at 3:25 tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, this is, we got bye week blues. We've got quarterbacks. We got injury concerns. We've got... Yeah, you're going to want to optimize your lineup. So 3:25 tomorrow with Andy Behrens.
A couple of other NFL notes from around the league before we get to the Bills injury report in today's walkthrough. We mentioned earlier Roger Goodell got his contract extended through March of 27. By the time that extension is up, he will have been in the position for over 20 years. He'll be 68 years old. And, we don't know the exact terms, but I'm sure that they don't want that to be public because it's probably an obscene amount of money that he's making to be the commissioner of the NFL.
$50 million a year?
An obscene amount of money.
That's obscene to me.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think that's...
What was he making?
I want to say it was 30.
Yeah.
He's getting a raise, no doubt. Yeah,
right. Sounds about right. And I know you discussed this yesterday while I was out, because it was probably one of the bigger headlines around the NFL. The idea that Anthony Richardson, the Colts rookie quarterback, might miss the rest of the season. That's accurate. That is actually happening. He's undergoing season-ending surgery for his right shoulder that he injured back in Week 5 against the Titans. Of course, the announcement had to come from Jim Irsay himself on Twitter,
who broke the news like, "Hey, I think he's out for the year. Everybody, sorry." Like, he's the owner; he can do anything he wants.
That's right.
But
that's your source.
They're doomed, right? Like, Gardner Minshew can be fun for one game or maybe two at most, but they're not going anywhere.
Not if he's turning the ball over the way he did last week.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I mean, that run game, that two-headed monster that they have now with the rejuvenated Zach Moss,
former sports bar guest Zach Moss.
That's right. That's what they should be leaning on, the physicality, and less on Minshew trying to make plays with his arm, because that doesn't really work out. A couple of star players returning to practice around the NFL. Kyler Murray back on the practice field for the Cardinals. And Jalen Ramsey back on the practice field for the Dolphins. Either of those float your boat, Gino?
No, like Jalen Ramsey putting pictures of himself like high school senior photos. Did you see that? Like, what are we doing now to your back?
He announces he's
posing.
back. Back is what? A GQ cover model?
What was that? Yeah.
Back what? On the runways of Milan? How about you're a football player? Let's see you on the practice field. And with Kyler Murray, yeah, he tore his ACL back to middle of December. So now the 21-day window for Murray and for Budda Baker, their safety who's been out since Week 1, is open. They've both been practicing as they return from IR.
Can I get you another tall one there, Mike Danger? Would you like some half-price?
That's Kyle Murray. That's Kyle Murray from TGI Fridays. That's who we envision.
They're the same height, actually.
Kyle Murray.
Kyle Murray.
Just a guy. And then finally, a bit of sad news, unfortunately, was another arrest for Chandler Jones in Las Vegas for violating a domestic violence temporary protection order. This happened yesterday. He was arrested on 2 counts of the same charge last month, released on $15,000 bond. Chandler Jones isn't right.
No, and like the video showed him allegedly taking such things as a recycling bin. Like, honestly, like just showing up and like things that's just strange behavior. So again, we've been saying this all along. Hopefully he gets the help he needs, and I don't know, maybe behind bars is actually the best place here while you're just trying to figure all this out here.
All right, let's look at this Buffalo Bills injury report from today's walkthrough, because there is a lengthy list of players mentioned on this report.
Well, the first thing that kind of popped out, who knew Quentin Morris was hurt on that touchdown drive? So he twists his ankle on that touchdown drive, stayed in, and took that bullet from Josh Allen. And I don't know, Josh, he's getting kudos for throwing that, because it worked, but holy cow, I don't know what he was looking at.
This is what you get, though, man. I mean, like, that's the beauty and the risk of Josh Allen. It's the gunslinger mentality. He makes throws that most quarterbacks can't make. And when you see that, as much as it might make your heart skip a beat, you have to understand, like, that's what we signed up for. That's what we're going to have.
Yeah, so because we weren't paying attention that close to Quentin Morris, he wasn't back out there after that. So he may not be available, but you do get Dalton Kincaid back fully a go. He's been cleared from protocol, so you could have Knox and Kincaid back. Knox, full participant today as well. Not participating today with a toe injury at Oliver. Okay, a DNP. So we're going to have to keep eye on that, because that's also new. Limited today, Dane Jackson limited. Cam Lewis has a shoulder injury. He was limited. Kyer Elam, no, I'm kidding. Ankle limited. And, Josh Allen, they listed him as limited. This was a walkthrough. They were very specific here. Right shoulder, which means throwing shoulder. But Josh Allen telling it. It's funny how, like, McDermott is just playing I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And Allen's like, come on, I'm fine.
Yeah, I suspect that we'll see him at some point fully participate in practice and shed that injury designation before Sunday's kickoff. Dane Jackson getting better, that's good news. Ed Oliver getting worse is not good news. I want to see him back on the practice field, because he's been playing remarkably so far this season. And getting Dalton Kincaid back, is fine and good if you start using Dalton Kincaid the way we all think you should be using Dalton Kincaid.
If you missed Maggie Gray, she was awesome. Last hour, your host of Maggie and Perloff in the mornings. It's just a show that moves, and Maggie moves it well. And she's one of us. Her brother went to the U of R. She married a Rochester guy. She comes into town. She has in-laws still in town. Maggie is a Rochesterian. Not really. She's down in New York, but
We've claimed her.
We claimed her. Yeah, her point, and this is one I think we kind of overlook, the slot. Yeah, we asked her, like, who can be that secondary target? It hasn't been Gabe Davis. And she's like, well, you haven't had that slot. And she put McKenzie in the same kind of context as Beasley. McKenzie had a couple good games, but he never developed. We hoped he was going to develop into that guy. Never quite did.
They're trust issues, man. And I think it starts with a head coach. You got a head coach that doesn't trust this player for this or that player for that. And now you've got a quarterback who only has eyes for 14.
There's nothing wrong. That should always be the first read.
Of course.
Nothing wrong with that.
You know, but will you have a trust develop over time with Deontay Hardy? Will you have a trust develop over time with Dalton Kincaid? You know, these are the guys that you need to see Josh Allen distributing the ball to more often when they're open, when they're available. And sometimes they're not available, so you can't.
Kincaid. This is what we were sold. That he wasn't Cole Beasley, he was Swole Beasley.
Yeah.
This is somebody that's not a tight end. Look at these numbers and look at him running wild in the Pac-12. And how did no other smart team pick up on this?
They haven't used him like that yet.
Not yet. Not yet, and maybe we're judging this on the Laporta curve. Okay, let's be honest. If it wasn't happening up in Detroit with their rookie tight end, we wouldn't be like, "What's going on with this toy you drafted here? Why is the development behind?" This is an area where there's opportunity, Danger. That's right. You are always the optimist. Like, hey, I don't see problems. I see opportunity. This is the opportunity. Dalton Kincaid, can they get something going with him over the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think it is a credit to Ben Johnson in Detroit, who's probably going to be a head coach in the NFL by this time next year. The creativity in his play calling and his scheming, where Laporta just seems like he's always open. They've always got Laporta. We haven't quite yet seen that, and this isn't a knock on Ken Dorsey because I've been saying all season I think Ken Dorsey is good at his job. But at some point, and maybe it's part of it is show and tell. I'm not going to show you anything. I'm going to eventually show you what we have and unleash it at a time when we really need it, like against opponents later this season.
Cincinnati, Kansas City, pick one of those Jets round 2.
I loved how in Sunday's game, and there wasn't a lot to love, but I do love how offensively Ken Dorsey, and I don't know if this was by design, it just worked out this way, but you were focused on Diggs so much, just feeding Diggs target after target after target after target to the point where you're on the goal line and you scheme up that play to Hardy that gets you your first touchdown while the entire defense is focused on Diggs. And I'm like, yes, that's smart. That's strategic. That's playing chess while the defense is playing checkers. And if you see more of that through the course of the season from this offense from Ken Dorsey, I'm not going to be the person that says we need to move on from that. We don't. He's fine. He's good at his job. But it is a tough look for the crowd that was saying, well, Kincaid is just going to be a slot guy. He's a pass catcher. Don't view him as a tight end. No, they're viewing him as a tight end. They haven't really used him in that role that Maggie was describing, that security blanket that's always there and always open for Josh Allen, the way Beasley appeared to be all those years.
Yeah, it's again, I think it's just an area of improvement. Maggie is worried about the Patriots just because of the guy on the other sideline. I am not. I think the question in my mind is this, do the Bills cover? Is it some backdoor thingy? I'll ask you the question, and I'll answer it myself, okay? And the question was last week, how do the Giants beat the Buffalo Bills outside of the Bills beating themselves? And we came up with Dable would know what to do, and it's a Saquon Barkley game, and it wasn't how we imagined it. Now I'm going to ask everybody the question, I'll answer myself. How, in this NFL world where anybody can beat anybody, do the Bills lose this week? And I'm trying to come up with a way other than the Buffalo Bills beating the Buffalo Bills, Mike Danger.
Right, and that's kind of what almost happened on Sunday night. You had the fumble, the turnovers, and it really, when I talk about what this team might need and use the word luck, like, let's face it, that was kind of lucky that Tyrod was a rockhead at the end of the first half. It was kind of lucky that you didn't get the flag thrown at the end of the game. Like, there are little elements throughout that game where you're like, oof, boy, that could have really been bad.
This is the only thing I can do. Maybe that the first two series are just so bad for Mac Jones that they go to the Cunningham card. Uh-oh.
Now you got a wild card that you
got
don't
a
know.
wild. We don't know anything about this guy. And is Bill Belichick smart? I'd like to think he is. So why haven't they made that move already here with kind of their season on the line?
Does he trust him?
No.
Yes, that's the answer.
Oh, I don't know why he trusts Mac Jones. Oh, that's right. You were the GM who drafted him, and you're doubling down. You're doubling down.
Yeah, I mean, if you watched any of, and I know it's preseason, but Cunningham is dynamic. He's a playmaker. You almost like want to challenge the Patriots to start him. Like, come on, you cowards! You got to. You mean to tell me you think that guy doesn't give you as good a chance to win, if not a better chance to win, than what you have right now with Mac Jones? I mean, this is what I'm excited to learn about tomorrow when we talk to Fitzy Stevens from our Odyssey Sports sister station in Boston, WEEI. Why haven't they pulled the trigger? Why haven't they worked him in more? Why are we married to Mac Jones when it's clear that he ain't it? And when do you make that call? When does it finally happen where you're like, sit down and don't get up? Yeah. We're going to make it through the rest of the season evaluating what we think we might have in this playmaker that nobody saw coming. And maybe he can surprise a few people and get a couple of wins that way.
Yeah.
And it could happen as soon as Sunday.
Right. It should happen if you're from a New England standpoint. Yeah, a lot of questions we could ask our guests tomorrow here in the Sports Bar.
All right, we're going to get to a round of shots here next on the Fan Rochester. We haven't even talked about the Sabres' overtime win yesterday. Gino, you have to tell the story of how you were consuming the game last night.
I was consuming the game? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I yelled out an F-bomb at 7 seconds to go, and I woke up the executive producer.
Oh.
It's been a few years since I got really angry at the Sabres. So the way I kind of view it, I view the Sabres win last night, and everybody's like, oh, good win. You beat Tampa Bay. I'm like, no. You do it one power. What are you doing? You almost lost to Jonas Johansson.
Oh, yeah. I forgot
Zach
about that.
Bogosian.
Yeah.
There's some crap on that team.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't have to apologize for a win. I kind of like that they held possession for the entirety of overtime before they scored and won it.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have gotten to that. I agree with you. We'll get to a round of shots next, and we'll talk about those Buffalo Sabres. What else we got coming up in shots?
Yeah, we got baseball tonight. This might end really quick here, and we got some stadium news here in baseball where there was one team that, hey, you do this or you're going to move. Well, we'll give you an update on what's happening in Milwaukee.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right tomorrow night. Right now, all customers on FanDuel get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. All you need to do is place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Jags and the Saints. You'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
update.
Bills back at work getting ready for the New England Patriots. No need to worry, though, about the status of Josh Allen.
No concernment. We'll be ready to go. I would put it in the pain management, but it's feeling pretty good.
Not practicing today, Ed Oliver with a toe injury. Quentin Morris twisted his ankle right before that touchdown in the Giant victory. And Damian Harris. Dalton Kincaid, though, has cleared concussion protocol. Rochester Americans tonight at Laval. Don Stevens has your call beginning at 7 o'clock. The Amherst first 2 games of the season both going to overtime. Tonight it's Game 3 of the ALCS. Texas leading Houston 2 games to none. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Today get 2-for-1 individual passes to Stokey Farms. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The only way to take the Fan Rochester with you is the free Odyssey app. Download it today and follow the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Play through the toe injury at all during the game?
A little bit, yeah.
How important has he been for you guys, especially with Daquan going down? It seemed like he's just been playing the most consistent football of his career.
He has. And again, similar to AJ Epinesa and a few others up front. I mean, it's been fun to watch their growth. Ed, as you mentioned, and just different process during the week. I think it's development, maturation. Focusing on that process, and I think that's why you're seeing some of the results we're seeing.
Little process for you on a Wednesday.
Open up.
Sean
process.
McDermott just feeding you some process. And Oliver's toe injury, a little bit of a concern. They're not practicing today. We'll talk a little bit more about that after we get to a round of shots in the sports bar.
Yeah, Sabres did get the 2 points, and really all what should matter here, right? Dylan Cousins with the overtime blast. Buffalo 3, Tampa 2. Lightning tying the game with 7 seconds remaining in regulation. Devin Levi making 20 saves. That was his third straight start in net. Matthias Samuelsson leaving this game with an upper body injury. It was just one shift into the third. Buffalo hosting Calgary tomorrow night. And after that, it's the Islanders coming in on Saturday. Mike Diedrich would expect maybe it's Conry or UPL tomorrow night. You're not going Levi 4 straight games, are you?
I don't think so. And last night, they did look a little bit different than they did their first 2 games. Hard thing to kind of put your finger on because a lot of times if you're just watching hockey, it looks the same no matter what. But they
weren't playing that 1-3-1 nonsense. Like the Islanders are like the way the Devils used to be, and then the Rangers, rolled that out. So maybe that had something to do with it.
I think that their passing was just more crisp. It was more tape to tape. There was more movement. They were a harder team to defend last night, and it was great to see Skinner get on the board and to see some scoring from your primary goal scoring line. Like you need them obviously to contribute, which they hadn't done through the first 2 games of the season. So we'll see how they look tomorrow night against Calgary.
Yeah, after selling out the home opener, the attendance last night taking a step back, 12,598. The announced crowd
didn't even look like that, dude.
No,
not on TV. It did. I mean, you had whole sections that were just barren in the 100s.
Yeah, that's bad. 66% capacity, which I guess is right around what the team averaged last October, pushing the face-off back to 7:30 maybe played a part. I mean, people driving in from, I don't know, places like Rochester. You don't want to get home at midnight. That's kind of tough. Half hour makes a difference there, I think.
Yeah, but also if you're going from Rochester to Buffalo for a Sabres game and you know attendance is going to be light, at least you know, hey, maybe I can get out of this traffic a little bit easier.
That's true. It was the Lightning, too. I'm wondering, well, if it was this bad for Tampa, Calgary on Thursday night?
No, see, I think with Calgary, you'll get the Canadians crossing the border. You'll get more Canadians crossing the border for that game. Tampa, I don't think the Canadian fans can't stomach wearing a Lightning jersey to root against the Sabres.
That's true. You're not getting those displaced Leaf fans that are like, oh, well, let's go watch the game tonight.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin Assembly passing a $500 million package for upgrades to the stadium the Milwaukee Brewers play. The Brewers contend that, and so does the commissioner, American Family Field, glass outdoors, the concourses should be replaced, luxury suites, video scoreboard need upgrades, the retractable roof, all this stuff, parking lots, escalators, they all need work.
Team officials even hinting the Brewers might leave Milwaukee if they don't get the money for repairs. This now goes to a vote in the Senate in the month of November. I don't know much about Wisconsin politics other than what Bart Winkler told us, our buddy from CBS Sports Radio, and it's very divisive out there.
Yeah.
So
$500 million for what you're talking about here. It sounds like $500 million for new coat of paint. Do they even use the retractable roof? I feel like that's one stadium where I don't know that I ever have watched a Brewers game where they've had the roof open.
That goes back to what I said, in Buffalo. Well, put a roof, I don't know. Like, you're more often than not, you're going to use the roof. Miami, for instance, that's a retractable roof they built for the Marlins.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, they're never opening that up.
No, they're never opening it up.
Right.
Yeah, down in Houston. The Texas Rangers, speaking of, I think they have a retractable roof too, if I'm not mistaken, Danger.
Open that thing up tonight. Come on now. It's fall.
Yeah,
we're in October.
It should be beautiful. They can put a stranglehold on the ALCS. They host Houston. Christian Javier starting for the Astros.
Who's starting for the Rangers?
That would be Max Scherzer, Mike Danger.
Meet the Mets.
Are you hate watching?
No.
You're not hate watching tonight?
No, because I don't like the Astros either.
That's tough. You're right.
Scherzer I don't have a problem with.
Come on now. If he gets lit up tonight, you're not going to secretly be like...
I know it. It's not like I'm not... I expect him to. He hasn't pitched since September 13th.
No rehab, nothing.
Nothing. Chris Young, the GM, said it was unlikely that Scherzer would return for the postseason. So I think the expectation tonight... He's going to be more of an opener. Like, you're going to give him maybe a couple innings. How could you possibly expect him just to be on the shelf for a month and, okay, get out there and expect him to go 6? It's not going to happen tonight.
Boy, but if he does, and let's say he goes out there and he hurls, he's magnificent. He's as good as we've seen Scherzer look, and he can look really, really good.
No, Danger. Most Met fans don't have a problem with Max Scherzer. The guy that they have a problem with the Texas Rangers isn't available. Anyhow, according to John, it's going right past him. According to John Roth, it'll catch up everybody in 30 seconds here. According to John Rothstein, we can look forward to more of Jim Boeheim offering commentary on ESPN. Jacob DeGrom, I was talking about that.
I know.
Yeah, okay. More commentary on ESPN and Westwood One broadcast this year. Danger, I can feel my blood pressure rising here. Boeheim Day, by the way, you missed this yesterday. They announced it. They're going to have a day for him at the Dome, February 24th against Notre Dame.
Good.
Of course, they couldn't do it against, Georgia Tech or NC State or any opponent.
No, it's fine. That's good. He deserves it. He deserves his day at the Dome. And look, if he wants to keep working, and clearly he wants to keep working, I mean, this isn't surprising. ESPN loves Jim Boeheim. Loves him. He was always the first guy that they would go to for an interview because he gives a good interview. And he's got a class about him and a charm about him when he's on TV.
And he just takes a big old dump on everybody locally here. That's the way I always view Boeheim.
He big times everybody.
Yeah.
He's big time. So now he gets to be big time on ESPN. And, it'll accentuate even more how little we, the local people, mean to him.
He'll be on, Wilbon and Kornheiser and all the platforms and offering his commentary.
What I think the mistake I think ESPN made here is, hey, look, if you have a guy that's talking about a sport, you want that guy to kind of be an advocate for the sport. I mean, Jim Boeheim has been nothing but trashing college basketball in recent years, right? Like, this is not how it's supposed to be, and this is why all the guys are leaving, and this is
like it was kind of a holier than thou, like portal. You're less if you use the portal. Well, these are the rules now.
Right? Adapt or die, and he's going to now have to learn to adapt or die behind the camera, or in front of the camera, I should say, for ESPN. So, and a little radio as well during the tournament in March for Jim Boeheim, a little analyst work there. I'm intrigued. I'll check it out, and I'm sure he'll be fine. He's got charisma. He knows how to he knows how to put on the charm when he needs to. I just think that only comes out when he's on that national platform. So we'll see good Jim Boeheim moving forward at ESPN.
Also out of Philadelphia today. I got to wrap my mind around the NBA season's coming up here, dude. Less than 10 days away. James Harden not going to practice today in Philadelphia, so there's that.
Yeah, and was it Ramona, our girl Ramona on ESPN, saying that this is just the beginning? I mean, what is that even? What are you telegraphing there? This is just if you're Harden and you're feeding that to Shelburne, what exactly? What? This is just the beginning. What else is coming?
What else? Okay, then you're not showing up. Then we don't have to pay you.
Yeah,
and that's
fine. You.
Well, yeah, that's it.
But this is just the beginning. Okay.
Oh. Why are we threatening? Like, what are we doing here?
You think it's bad when I don't show up to practice? Wait till you realize where I've been this whole time while I've not been at practice. Hey, everybody! Welcome to Diamond Dave's. Diamond Dave's, where we have 25-cent wings every Tuesday night. Don't forget our wing buffet. And say hi to Crystal. Stage 3. Crystal, Stage 3.
I don't know if he's doing that or just like the one picture of him like with all the cheeseburgers and everything.
And this is just the beginning. You don't know how fat I can actually get before the season starts.
Hey, wait. At Geno's or Pat's. Wait a second. Look who that is.
I'm on a 10,000 calorie a day diet, and I am going to balloon by the time the season starts. You don't know how bad it could get. This is just the beginning. Me not showing up to practice, just the beginning. I got that supersized me guy on the phone. He's telling me all of the tips and tricks to the value menu at McDonald's. I'm going to be showing up so overweight and so satiated with myself from going to the strip clubs and eating fast food. Just you wait. You don't know how bad this can get. Yeah, he'll get fined. And hey, look, I want to like the Sixers. I want to root for the Sixers. I need to see a little bit more from Embiid. Embiid, for being the player of the year last year, still kind of lacks that killer instinct. That
was a tough out last year.
Yeah.
That was you should have won.
Yeah. All right, there you go. A round of shots here in the sports bar.
Dangerous words coming up.
The most dangerous words in all of sports talk radio. We go to the phones. Last call.
Yeah.
Now we don't want to discourage you from calling into the sports bar. Our only request is add something of value. Don't call up with the lazy fire the coach take.
Listen, and if you're like you want to fire back at one of our takes, do it.
I will listen to that.
Yeah, we will listen to that. We're not going to hang up if we're off base on something, but please, if you have a take, it's been burning in your belly here for how long? 866-4326.
Yeah, that's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. What is today? Today is Wednesday, Wacky Wing Wednesday at Good Smoke. Buy one, get one free wings. Good Smoke's giant signature wings for buy one, get one free on all 6 or 12 wing dine-in orders. And the Super Happy Hour at Good Smoke features buy one, get one draft beers and $3 well drinks every weekday from 2 until 6. You still got time. Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com. Last call next in the sports bar on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across.
7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Last call on the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. Hey, thanks for joining us this and every afternoon from 3 until 6. It is a privilege to be able to talk sports with you here every afternoon in the Flower City. You can go back and listen to any part of the show you may have missed with Odyssey Rewind in the free-to-download Odyssey app. If you're a podcast listener, find us wherever you get your shows when you search out the Sports Bar. And don't forget about our video stream as well. Like and subscribe to The Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch, and you'll always know when Gino and I are going live here in the Sports Bar.
Can the Amerks win in 60 minutes tonight?
Good point. It's been 2 games, 2 overtime games, 2 extra frames.
Yeah, and as Seth Apper pointed out, the 2 preseason games also went to overtime. So this team had a ton of overtime last year. So,
yeah, we'll have that for you tonight as the team is outside of Montreal at Laval. 7 o'clock puck drop. Don Stevens will be by with the call.
That's the thing. Our conversation yesterday with Seth, I'm like, hey, are you going to get to watch the game? Their video coordinator had already made reservations at a place that guaranteed they'd be able to watch the Sabres and Lightning last night when they got
good
to Montreal.
So they left early in the day.
Right. So when we talked to them, they already crossed the, so they were just kind of on the outskirts there. Like,
cool.
Yeah, 20 minutes out. So.
A little team building. I know he doesn't really talk about it.
Yeah, but he doesn't talk about that. But this is a tough play. When you're listening to this tonight, like, wait a second, this is Wednesday night in the AHL? Well, it's Montreal. And it's suburban Montreal. So basically, this is the town that loves hockey just as much as Toronto does watching their prospects.
I was watching Saturday night. I was watching the Blackhawks in Montreal, and it was just a reminder of just how different the NHL hits in Montreal on a Saturday night.
Have you been to Montreal?
I've only been through the airport, and I was a kid. I just remember the French-Canadian thing.
Kid?
Kind of
Where did you transfer?
We were transferring, so...
you went over to Spain. Oh.
Yeah, we went to Spain as a kid, and Montreal was our connecting flight. We flew to Spain from Montreal, from I can't remember which airport in Minnesota. I don't even think it was Minneapolis. I too young to remember, but I do remember being in Montreal, and the French Canadian thing threw me for a loop. The idea that a lot of people there were speaking French.
I'd love to go up there. I mean, I've been to Toronto. Obviously, Ottawa is underrated, but to me, someday I want to check out a Habs game.
I still haven't been to a Leafs game. Did you hear the Leafs' new goal song? I heard that the other night too when I was watching them against the Blackhawks. Panama, Van Halen. It's great. It's such an upgrade. Now I don't want to speak too highly of the Maple Leafs, but this was an easy call to make. I mean, I like my yacht rock. You like your yacht rock. Hall & Oates, You Make My Dreams Come True. Not a great goal song.
No.
Panama by Van Halen. Now we're talking. That's a good goal song.
I kind of wish the Sabres had a 1-goal song.
I like the idea that they give it to the players, but it's just, I guess fishing in the dark is fun. When Tage Thompson scores, it's fun. It's cool. It's fun. But it would be cool if they had like one unifying song that just blew the roof off the place every time they scored. Panama does that for me.
Yeah.
That's a killer one. Anyway, so tomorrow, we're back. A brand new episode starting at 3 o'clock. Andy Behrens will help set your Week 7 fantasy football lineup at 3:25. Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy joins us every Thursday in the Sports Bar at 3:25. And joining us at 4:25, he is the host of the 6 Rings and Things podcast from our Odyssey Sports sister station, WEEI in Boston. Fitzy Stevens will be joining us, and we got to ask him this question. Peter, one of our regulars on Twitter at the Fan Rochester, our pollster, asking the question: will Bill Belichick be the Patriots coach next year? Yes or no?
No.
I say yes. But we'll ask Fitzy tomorrow, and we'll see what he has to say. As he told us as we were booking him, can't wait to see Bills Mafia go up against Bills Mafia. And his parting line was, "We had a good run." They're defeated, man. Yeah. That's a defeated fan base. Woo. They are frustrated beyond anything that they can comprehend. They've been spoiled for a very, very long time. We'll talk to Fitzy Stevens from WEEI tomorrow afternoon at 4:25 here in the Sports Bar. Again, if you missed any of today's show, Odyssey Rewind lets you go back and listen within the app. Download it for free. That's AUDACY. If you missed Maggie Gray, the co-host of Maggie and Perloff, or PJ Glasser with his best bets, host of BetQL's Send It In. We've got both of those episodes available for you wherever you get your podcasts. Just search out the Sports Bar. That includes Spotify. That includes Apple Podcasts. And, of course, the aforementioned Odyssey app, free to download. Gino, have a great night.
Thanks, Danger. You as well.
Back again tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock here on The Fan Rochester.